It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Clark the Q.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom. From movies, comics, TV shows, video games, we got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. But, also, we're doing a House of the Dragon episode. Mm-hmm. Only a House of the Dragon episode. That's it. We're skipping all the news. And we promised that we had a surprise, and we do have a surprise. We have, for the first time in, how many of these have we done?
I think 130 plus.
130? Some odd of just us.
Yep. We finally have Matt Smith.
No.
Oh,
he was busy.
He was busy. I called him personally.
We tried.
But the next best thing.
What?
Who's that?
We got a voice. A third voice has entered the chat. Yes, we do have a guest this week. Unknown to everybody besides us.
Right.
But it's still a special guest. So we are bringing on our friend Emily.
Our resident Game of Thrones fan.
Yes, that's why you're here.
Right.
Say hi.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good. I'm glad. So you are a self-professed lover of Game of Thrones, all things Game of Thrones. Yep. So we figured what better way to celebrate the end of Season 2 of House of the Dragon than to bring our friend on here, and we could just kind of chop it up about Season 2 of House of the Dragon, which premiered 8 weeks ago. Yep. Because there were 8 episodes.
That's how time works.
Yep. Usually.
Not to Daemon, though.
Oh man, I can't wait. a lot of Daemon talk on this episode. Yep. But yeah, I guess we could just start there. We had the finale of House of the Dragon last night. I'll kick it to you first. What did you think of the finale?
I thought it was great. I think it set us up well for season 3. And I think everyone's storyline, kind of what we were talking about, it kind of ended on a good note, especially the Daemon one, but I know we'll get into that. But I loved it. Yeah,
I think I agree. Obviously, I think I saw this is like the second worst rated episode of Game of Thrones
ever.
It's
like a 6.8 on IMDb. Yeah.
And I don't know what people wanted or expected. I mean, I know what people wanted and expected. They wanted
more action than...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. But it just feels like... It does feel like we're kind of revisiting the end of season 1 a little. Where we're like, next season's going to be the big war season. And it didn't turn out to be that. It turned out to be a lot of war strategizing and a lot of war setup, aside from episode 4, which is the Rook's Rest battle. But, to your point, I think everything that this season set up got resolved in this finale. And I think, ultimately, I think that's what you want out of a finale, right?
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, you talk finality out of a finale. It's, it seems a little bit... It seems almost like too easy to think about it that way. Like something needs to happen. There needs to be like this big boom of something. Like I'm all for the politicking. I'm all for the setup. It's fine. Like if season 3 pays off for it, then you're fine. It's storytelling 101. If you can shoot the gun and have it fire, then you're fine. So as long as season 3 pays off the whole thing, and I'm a little bit less on this finale than the two of you guys, and I'll get into why. But I still think it's solid. I mean, it looks good. Everybody still brings their A game. There's nothing for me to hate out of this. There's a performance in here that I wasn't expecting in this episode too, which I really want to get into. So it's still solid. I think it still serves the purpose you need it to.
There were quite a few scenes and performances where I was just like, this is as good as you can get.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Daemon and Rhaenyra scene when they reunited in Harrenhal. Mm-hmm. The Rhaenyra Alicent scene at the end of the episode.
She went back.
Was really well done. And the Kristen Cole monologue was also really, really good.
Yep.
And then even like the Aemond and Helena, like they had a lot of good pairings in this finale.
And it's pairings that, outside of the Rhaenyra and Alicent, I mean, for a prolonged period of time, we don't see these pairings. Like these are ones that like I think they pick and chose for a finale to be like, to my point, like it doesn't need to end in a big boom. It needs to end with thought and, the thought of war. And that, I mean, we can just start with that Kristen Cole monologue because it kind of, props up what the whole theme of this whole season was. And it's just like, we're actually dealing with nuclear weapons in the sky. Like what are we to anything? Like we're fighting this war for what? Like we might, and by the time you get to Game of Thrones, it's kind of true. Like the entire Targaryen bloodline is all but demolished by this point.
Yeah, which is another thing that we can talk about when we talk about the Daemon stuff. But yeah, this was something that was kind of hinted at with Kristen Cole after the Rook's Rest episode, where he was kind of like there's obviously that image of him kind of grabbing one of his soldiers and he turns him around and the guy just turns to dust. Like he's just a skeleton. And like it felt like I wasn't sure if they were going to go that route with him, where he was like truly haunted by what he saw. And because he pulls back a little bit after that Rook's Rest thing, and you don't really get inside his head until this monologue, where he just basically is like, Gwaine confronts him about like, you've been sleeping with my sister, and Kristen Cole's like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like it truly doesn't matter anymore.
He's like, I did, but we're all dead anyway.
Yeah, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
So, where do you fall on Kristen Cole besides hating his guts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad, at least he knows that he sucks. But yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think him just seeing the dragons over top of them, all that going on, it's like nothing even mattered on the ground. Like they were gone, all those men, in like seconds, you know, like burned. So,
I mean, it's to my point of like nuclear weapons sitting in the sky. Like, what does matter? Like, that's why episode 4 is so good, because episode 4 doesn't start with the, like, this booming battle, because we knew, like, episode 3, the prelude to episode 4, like the little teaser that we always get after the episodes, like, we were like, all right, we're going to get a full episode, like, much like the Acolyte episode 4, was it, or 5? Where you have a full episode of just, this is fight. We're fighting for a full episode. Like, I like the way you start 4, because it's like, we're going to get you there, don't worry, but, like, we have to politic a little bit. So, to your point, Kristen Cole's at this level-headed mindset of, like, I've been, I've had to go by honor, I'd have to go by, nobility, because I was told to. And, like, I finally get to think freely, and my free think is that we are, we're insurmountable to anything. Like, they always talk about the gods of, the 7 kingdoms, like, we're nothing. Like, we choose, why are we even fighting this war? Like, one day, one of them can just swoop down and murder us, and the smallest dragon can do this to us. Like, what are we in this whole thing? I love that. I think that bit is so good, and hats off to the Kristen Cole actor as well. I think that was
taking a lot of shit this season.
Yeah, he's been getting killed. So
yeah, I mean, everyone says it's usually a good proxy that you're good at your job is when you're getting hate, but also chill out.
Yeah.
This show really, Game of Thrones and the show usually do a good job about that. Of like, the actors always get the hate. I'm like, they didn't do anything. Yeah, these are just normal people. So.
Yeah. But no, that's a great point. And that was always, we'll talk about, obviously we'll dive into the Rhaenyra stuff later, but that was always her reservation. Like, once I deploy the dragons, like, it's on. Like, there's no going back. Like, I understand, like, Aemon's flying around, but, like, once I mobilize, like, my guys, it's full on. Like, especially after, she does what she does later in the season, where she commissions more dragon riders. Yep. So, like, she realizes the scale of the war, and, I
love the desperation of that too. It's such like I love the idea of, like, in war movies where, like, you have your plan and that plan gets thrown out. So I thought it was a small little thing, but I thought it plays well. So
so risky though, having those 2 riders where you don't know where their loyalty is going to go.
I mean, it shows you where Rhaenyra is. It shows you where she's at in this whole thing, and it goes to Daemon's point, like, or to her council's point, like, she's gone. Like, she's so far off the cliff that I don't know if they can bring her back. And I think they're going to play on that with Daemon. And I think it's so great of everybody not liking the Harrenhal stuff. I think that was the whole point. Like, by the time he got back, both their mindsets essentially flipped. Like, the way that they were, they kind of swapped places of where they were.
Yeah.
But also, too, with now those 2 new riders, are there any dragons left besides the little babies that are just riderless? What if all these dragons die, which... I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
you can see that's probably going to happen.
The presumption based on the finale is that Rhaena is going to claim the dragon in the veil, which appears
that's going to go to war. I would imagine that
appears to be happening. And then the only other dragon that we see briefly enter the fold is Darren Targaryen, who is Aegon and Aemon's younger brother. We see his dragon at the end, flying with the Hightower army.
Right.
So. I think all the dragons now are officially in play.
Which is wild to me, because they can all potentially just die and then you're left with no dragons.
Right.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting point to that whole monologue from Kristen Cole, because, like, then what happens if all of them leave? And I think that's why it plays for Game of Thrones so well. Like, this show is such a good prequel, because sometimes prequels won't play on things, like, they'll admittedly not play. Like, it's such a, or prequels will go too deep to make sure this makes sense. Like, I like the little, maybe I'm throwing my point out for the visions that happen later because they just directly do it. But
Yeah.
I like this little,
wild.
I like this little ambiguity they're playing on for that. Like, we know, outside looking or inside looking out, like, they're all gonna die. Like, we all know all these dragons are gonna die, but we don't know how. That's the beauty of this whole thing, or the horror of this whole thing.
Yep. And I mean, we can jump right into that because that was probably the second most impactful thing that happened in this finale was basically the resolution of Daemon's arc in Harrenhal, where he, Alice Rivers goes to him and she's like, "You weren't ready when you first got here to see the totality of like your future, but you're ready now." And Daemon's like, "I am ready now."
Yep.
6 episodes of this, I'm ready. I've mastered the spookiness of Harrenhal. Show me the future, and she does. And it's he gets a speed run of 8 seasons of Game of Thrones shown to him.
Remember in that episode of The Flash where Cisco sped up Game of Thrones for Barry? That's exactly what he got. He just got 8 seasons of a whole show in like 30 seconds. It was great.
So what does he see here? He sees Brandon Rivers, who Game of Thrones fans will know as the Three-Eyed Raven. He ends up seeing him. He sees not the Night King, contrary to popular belief. He sees a White Walker with the Army of the Dead behind him. I don't know if it was supposed to be the Night King. I don't think it was.
I thought that at first. I'm like, is that a knockoff Night King? What's happening?
Not my Night King.
Not my Night King.
Yeah, we got a White Walker. We got the Army of the Dead, and then I mean the big reveal is that he sees Daenerys Targaryen not giving birth to, but metaphorically giving birth to her 3 dragons that we've seen earlier this season. They got shipped off with Rhaenyra to Essos. So, and Daemon sees the full totality of the prophecy. So, as he comes to understand it, and I mean that
more than Rhaenyra at this point,
right? Because he's actually seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
He's officially seen it. This prophecy that his brother has passed to Rhaenyra to Jace, but Daemon has actually seen it materialize, which I was completely blindsided by. I think I texted you.
Yeah,
I
that was
like,
such a wow moment watching it.
Yeah,
I didn't think they would do that.
Yeah, I didn't think they would either. I was kind of curious. They did in season 1, the prophecy itself is like basically like nudge, wink, Game of Thrones, but to actually see it and link, because what happens after he sees Daenerys, he sees Rhaenyra on the Iron Throne. So that, basically to Daemon means like our bloodline is going to stop the long night from coming. And I mean, it materializes that way, kind of, sort of, but obviously that's not Daemon's problem to worry about that. And that's the moment he buys in. And then, dovetailing off that, he gets direct communication with Helena, which was also kind of wild. But she kind of like says to him in so many words, like, you have the power, your role in this is to essentially end it. Like, your role in this is to turn the tides of the war and get Rhaenyra on the Iron Throne. And the way to do this is by killing Aemon and Vhagar, which is a sick setup, in my opinion, to next season, which we'll probably see those two square off, like, properly. But yeah, what do you make of the whole Helena? What do you make of, like, Helena?
I mean, I loved seeing Helena in the episode. I feel like all season she's just been this background character, and I think she's the sweetest, and it's really cool just all season seeing the dreamer and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of sort of occupies the Bran role.
That's a good. I like
like
that.
from
She's
later,
a cool character.
like from later seasons. Like Bran obviously adopts the Three-Eyed Raven, and he can see past, present, and future. And so Helena's kind of occupying that role, and it was kind of cool to see her step out of the like, the riddles. Like she was very Ridley in like the first, season 1 and earlier this season, where she kind of like throws out an off kilter line. And you're like, what is that supposed to mean? But in this episode, she was like, no, I'm actually going to tell you exactly what's going to happen.
And it's the piece about like, her innocent nobility. Like she is the the scale. Like she's the goodest good you can get, and like. I think Allison also understands that too, but I think Allison had
Everybody
everybody except even Aemon understands that too, which I think is the whole point of what happens in the finale, where he, basically tries to recruit her and said, get up, like, go get your dragon, like, it's time to fight. And she's just like, you want to know how you die in a little bit? He's just like, excuse me? So, I mean, that whole piece about, her as a character this season, it's heartbreaking. I think that's the point. They want, like, there can't be any good in a place like this, but I think she kind of usurps that in the fact of, like, I my truth telling, my truth sayerness from Dune is kind of taking the precedence here, and understanding like I know more, and that's my downfall, that I know more. Like I will be probably killed for this at some point because I know more, and it probably will come by the hands of Aemon at some point, and I think she knows. But at this point, I don't know why I keep thinking of in my head. She's kind of going to have fun with it a bit. She's like, I'm going to be weird and spooky this whole time.
Well,
I'm just going to tell people what's going on.
When she told him, like, it's not going to change anything.
Right.
If you know.
And that's the worst type of fear, is truth. I think that's the best part of her character. Like, it's the truth that she's telling. Like, you can't avoid what's about to happen. As much as you want me to go out there, as much as you want Aegon dead, it does not matter. Like, Daemon will come for you at some point. You will be dead at some point.
Yeah, and you know that terrified him,
right.
too.
Yeah, and I think she understands also the cruelty of her brother.
Yeah,
so it also selfishly kind of gives her a sense of kind of awareness and self-confidence.
It's what she needed. Yeah, that's a good point.
To be able to tell Aemond, of all people, like, I know how your story ends. Regardless of what you do to me, like, as powerful as you think you are, like, you're still at the mercy of the gods, and you're still at the mercy of what your fate is to be. Like, and I think she got because, like you said, she's had a horrible season, and I think it gave her a little bit of something to kind of throw that back at him and be like, you know, you're not as in control as you think you are.
Right. And I mean, let's flip from, one son of a royal to another son of the royal. We can talk about Jace as well, because I think it's really interesting what they do with Jace too. And I love how stubborn he is too, because
our pouty king.
Yeah, our pouty king. He's Rex Tyler from Stargirl now. He's angsty. He's mad. And I mean, from his perspective, understandably so. And like, you also don't understand what he's been through this whole time too. I mean, he was from his birth. Like, imagine you're looking at Aegon. You're like, I mean, that's why season 1 is structured so well, because you see them every beat of their life. You don't there's the time jumps, but you see those crucial points in that life. Like, he was less than Aegon and Aemond. Like, he was always less than the two of them too. And like, he lost his brother. He lost his, his fake father and his real father. He lost both of them. Like, he's been through everything. And then to get to this point of maturity, it's such a good, it is such a good coming of age story for him, and I hope they kind of make sure they finish it next season. Like, it's this understanding that, look, he, you think he has aspirations to be the heir to this? Because I keep getting the sense that he's like an inverted Aemon, because he wants the, I don't know if he wants the glory, but I think he wants like the understanding, and it plays out later, like, I want that, like, I matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just a bastard child. Like, I am heir to this throne to be heir to the throne. I don't know if he actually wants it, but he wants, like, I'm somebody. Like, I have a name. Like, I have the Targaryen name. Like, I still mean something to something.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he longs for it so much as he is comfortable to assume it shouldn't.
It's like the validation of the piece. Like, I want the validation that, like, my last name matters, and like, it doesn't matter where I came from. That's why he got so mad by the end of the season. Like, his mom was kind of like pushing him off a bit, and then every time he would check his mother would be like, relax, we're playing the long game, relax. And he's like, we need action, we need war. Like, am I going to be the one that has to run this? She's like, you're not ready for this. And then by the time the other dragon riders come, he's like, well, now I really don't feel like I mean anything, because now anybody can ride any dragons. That's the only thing I had for myself to put me above them. And I hope his humbling moment next season's like, that's not what this is about. None of this has ever been about that.
Yeah, totally. What else is in this finale? Corlys has had we'll talk a little bit about more Corlys when we kind of broad stroke the season, but he finally kind of comes to terms with everything that's happened to him throughout the season, and then confronts this very real living testament to he might perceive it as his failures or his misgivings, but in the form of this really intense confrontation he has with Alan, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw it to you too. Like, how do we feel about his sons that were revealed this season? I mean, Emily, you could talk about it for a little bit. Like, I love the dichotomy between the two. It's almost like a nature versus nurture thing, even though they didn't really know him until a couple months ago, whatever the time has passed. But I want to know what you think about just kind of his relationship and kind of where he went this season.
I mean, because we don't have the answers on how they found out that was their father. I guess the mother told them. I don't know. I think
it was, right? I think, did Rhaenys? I think she said it without saying it at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I felt really bad for them. It's terrible that they grew up like that, watching their father raise a whole another family, But I do think it's good that, what's his name, Alan?
Alan and Adam.
I think it's good that he said that to Corlys, to kind of get him to realize what his sons went through, and hopefully he could make up for it somehow.
And it's very, it's very, it's a very, like, typical story of, like, the stepchild kind of purview of,
right.
Now because you've lost your other kids, you're finally propping me up on this pedestal.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I got here without any of that, and I kind of liked him kind of, but to be fair, like, I don't think Corlys meant it in that way.
Yeah, yep.
But from Alan's lived experience, like, of course that's how he's going to take it. Like,
right.
You lost your son, you lost your daughter, your other daughter is off doing who knows what. The actual heir to Driftmark was killed, like,
right.
And now you want to prop me and my brother up on this pedestal. Like, I got here without you, and will continue to thrive without you.
Right. And that's another storytelling principle. Perspective is key. Like, from Alan's perspective, like, Corlys is evil. From my perspective, the Jedi are evil. But, from Corlys's perspective, like, this is what he had to do. He was the king of Driftmark. Like, he had obligations he already had to take care of. It's the Ned Stark piece. It's like, Ned Stark is the only one that's like, you know what, John? You're mine. He's the only one that claimed it. Everybody else would be... Daemon has his own kids that he won't even mention or talk about. Let alone Corlys has bastard children that, he didn't know about himself, or maybe he did, and he chose to ignore it as well, too. But,
not realizing how bad they lived,
Yep. And that's the piece of it. Like, when things like this happen, storytelling or real life, it's like you don't know where to push and pull from these perspectives, and you don't know who's right and who's wrong in the instance. But I mean, the right of it is he should have claimed them. He should have. He had the chance to.
Yeah.
And I think the true beauty of it is, like, his own wife said, "This is fine. Like, this is actually okay. Like, we've lost so much. Let's add more to this family too." And I think it adds to her sacrifice too. I think she might have had one of the best arcs this season as well too.
Yeah, and I mean, it culminates in obviously Corlys naming his ship after Rhaenys, and which was a storytelling beat. Like, the ship was named after him the first time before it was rebuilt. It was the Sea Snake, which was him. So he, the House of Valerian was always very vain. Going back to last season when they have that extravagant entrance, like where it's like, look at us, like look at House of Valerian, look how dripped out we are.
Yeah, except my brother, except my little brother.
So he's always kind of had like that vanity about him and his house. So now he's kind of being more selfless, which I like. He had all reason to not accept Rhaenyra's offer to be hand, and he does. He had all reason to not really adopt Adam or Alan, and he does. And then the culmination is when the ship gets rebuilt, he names it after Rhaenys. So like he's finally like detached, all his self vanity for the cause at this point.
Yep.
Well, at this point, it's all for Rhaenys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He found his purpose through
everything
loss.
he does, which I think he'll stay loyal to Rhaenyra too for her.
Yeah, because he has that great kind of come to Jesus moment with Bela, where she kind of kicks him in the ass.
I love that. I love that. Yep.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? Be my heir.
Right.
And she's like, no.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can flip it over to Team Green now, because I think we talked about Team Black.
Yeah, I mean, overall, finale-wise, I think, like you said, every arc got handled. We were following Alan and Adam and Hugh and Ulf throughout the whole season, and that culminates in them all becoming dragon riders, and Alan becoming Corlys's first mate. The Alicent Rhaenyra stuff comes to a head finally. Can we talk about that scene actually? Yeah, I think it's. I kind of want you guys' perspective on that, because I feel like I'm going to have a little bit of a different perspective on it, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts.
Which scene? When they're talking?
Yeah. When Alicent just pulls a Batman and appears out of the shadows in the room.
I mean, I just think it shows how desperate she is. Rhaenyra was there, I don't know what the timeline is, weeks ago, whenever it was, and Alicent turned her down and said it's too late. Now you have Alicent coming back,
right?
To talk about the same thing.
Yep, that's a great point, actually. Rob?
No, I don't necessarily think she thought of it as desperation, but it's very easy for Rhaenyra to feel that way, because Rhaenyra literally says it, like, I came to you to the Sept to lay out this exact premise, and you rejected me. Like you said, like, Viserys made up his mind or whatever, and now you're coming to me because the math has changed. Right. Like, your son is no longer the most powerful person in this war, like I am, and now you're coming to me with compromise. Like, no. Like,
Well, it's Aemon, too, being in charge.
Yeah,
Which
scares
I know
her.
Allison, she's scared of that, and then she wants Helena out of that situation. So she just wants to go. You know, that's why those scenes, her floating in the water, like she's very, you know.
And I think it pays off, you know, her entire arc up into the season finale from last season too. Like, that's kind of been Allison's thing this whole time of like, you get told to do this thing, and now it's getting to the point of like, now she has this free will to herself, which she never was rewarded before. She always was at the mercy of somebody else. So, and I feel like she feels it slipping back into the same thing, like, oh, like I finally was on the council. Like, obviously I'm not queen anymore, but you know, now my son is turning into this warmonger. Like I'm losing that control. I finally got a taste of for a little bit, and like I need help. Like I feel like it's like she's almost reverting back into that girl she once was from season 1.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, Rhaenyra has that scene also showed Rhaenyra's growth, where she, you know, maybe you know. Maybe she would have heard Allison out once upon a time, but she is so driven now by this idea that she has to. She says it, and I forget what episode it is. Like, either I claim my birthright or I die.
Right.
Like, that's been her mindset for however long now. And now, you know, she's not even. She even says it to Allison. Like, when Allison's like, "You can take Aemon, like take him if you want, but like spare Helena and spare Aegon, because I feel like I can still get to Aegon a little bit." And Rhaenyra's like, "Aegon is the." Regardless of what Aemon's doing, Aegon is the primary challenger still.
Yep.
You know? So, like, I have to defeat him, or else how do I look like sparing him if he's supposedly usurped my throne? Like, I can't. And Allison's just like, all right, well.
She just accepts that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I feel like she's truly at, like, a crossroads where... And, I mean, Rhaenyra even says, like... Because Allison basically says, like, if you kill Aemon... Come to King's Landing, and I'll command everyone to. I'll tell Helena to tell everyone to let you in. And Rhaenyra's like, you know, history will write you down as a traitor, and it, you know, to your own cause. And Allison's like, she kind of does the Kristen Cole thing. Where she's like, that's fine.
Yep.
Like I'm kind of over it.
Because at the end of the day, I just want my family safe. Like that's the only thing that I want now. Because
she doesn't care about her.
You should
have
thought about that in the beginning.
Exactly. She should. You had your chance and you lost it. You had your chance to do all of this.
Yeah, and I mean, she says all the right things. Like she's like, you know, Viserys always loved your mother, and you know, his love for her is what made him make you the heir and stay true to that. And then Rhaenyra, rightly so, snaps back and is like, then why did you think he suddenly changed his mind if you're admitting this to me now?
Right.
Like you know, I loved how Rhaenyra handled that scene because, you know, like I said, if the scene had happened like earlier on, like she may have given up some ground to Allison, but she's done. Like Rhaenyra's also over it, but in a different sense where she's no longer willing to compromise.
But it's different for her. Like they have the prophecy, her and Daemon. Like to Allison, she's like, all right, you know, we just got to end this. What are we doing? You know, but to Rhaenyra, it's like a bigger thing.
And she gets that, you know, affirmation from Daemon later on, which kind of bolstered, or before the conversation with Allison is when Daemon is like, I've seen things. I've seen all the things, and we have a greater calling than just this war.
Right.
Like the things that we do now are going to resonate for generations, and now that's where Rhaenyra's head's at.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no, like, Aemon is very short-sighted. She's not short-sighted anymore. She's like, you know, I claim the throne and I set my family up for generations to come, you know. But yeah, all in all, finale was, you know, really solid. It tied up everything. We didn't even touch on the triarchy stuff, but that's all set. That part, the bit with the Lannisters and the triarchy, is all set up for next season. Like, there was no long-term storytelling there.
Yeah, I think that was, for me, the only thing I wasn't really a fan of.
That was the comedy
put
bit.
Too much into that, yeah.
It felt like that could have been like season 3, episode 1.
Yeah, like an intro. I feel like we could have seen other stuff happen in the finale than watching, you know, him in the mud thing fighting her. You know, like it was alright, but I didn't need that in the finale.
Tywin Lannister wrestling with House of the Dragon's version of Yara Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like to your point, like I feel like we can just kind of revisit, you know, these different factions throughout the season, and I think the Team Green is where to start, and I kind of want to talk about a character that we have not mentioned yet, and that is the King, Aegon II.
Baby Jaehaer, the Aegon II. King for a
I
day.
thought you were gonna say Otto.
Basically, he might as well be.
So Aegon goes on a really interesting journey this season, starting with the king, the boy king, who's just loving life.
Aegon and the Aegoons.
These guys, man.
These guys. Look, HBO, hear me out for a second. I got a pitch. Here's my pitch. You do Blue Mountain State, but you use the Aegon and the Aegoons. Just a little college fun, hanging out, getting into situations and shenanigans. 100 million views each week. Your thoughts? Good, right?
I'm down.
See?
Sounds good to me.
Have fun.
You're a fan of Aegon.
All right.
I'm putting you on the spot
Yeah,
here.
yep.
No, I like the actor in real life. So, moving on. The character, no.
But he goes on an interesting kind of journey,
Yeah.
He does.
despite the fact that he is pretty reprehensible because he did some things in season 1 that.
I mean, I feel bad for him in certain ways. You know, I don't think he ever, not to cut you off, but I don't think he ever felt loved.
No.
You know, I mean, he drank a lot. You know, he did bad things. But he did get the shitty end of all of this. He was forced to be king.
Yeah.
Otto's like, we made you king. There you
Right.
go.
And I think it was too, like, it's the puberty ambition of what happens. Like, the more he grew up, he's like, it went from, like, you have to be king. Like, from season 1, he's like, ugh. Like, I
He's like, I don't want it.
I just
Some
want to
Jon
party
Snow
and have fun with the
attitude.
Aegoons. And then, like, it gets there and it's like, it's almost like, you know, how, like, sometimes it's like either politicians and, like, they'll have their kids and their kids are like, be like, you're gonna do this. And they're just like, I don't want to, I just want to have fun. And then they get a little older. It's just like, okay, I have to do this now. Like, I get it. And then they start to adopt the ambitions of their, you know, of what their lineage came from.
Yeah, and I think the turning point for him is the birth of his son.
Yep. Kids change your life. They do.
And he saw Jaehaerys as this beacon of, I'm going to do for Jaehaerys what Viserys never did for me.
Oh, yeah, having him at the table.
Yep. And even to go further with that, I think I finally have a chance to do the good in somebody that I took away from myself from being a stupid kid. Like, I have a chance to, like, raise this boy the right way and do the right things. And, like, keep them away from the Aegoons.
And unfortunately for baby Jaehaerys, he caught a case of the decapitation.
Yeah, he caught a case of the deads.
In one of the most harrowing scenes in Game of Thrones.
And they start the season like this. This is episode 1.
Man, that sequence is a tough watch. It's a tough watch. It's a tough listen.
The noises.
Well, how do we get here? Episode 1. How do we get there?
I mean, Daemon, you know, Rhaenyra says, I want Aemon Targaryen dead because he murdered my son.
Ooh, we'll talk about Rhaenyra's
Aemon.
performance in that episode 1 too.
And Daemon Targaryen takes that as, I got this.
I got you, boo.
I'm going to do
Don't
the one
worry.
thing. I'm going to do the only thing I know how to do. And that's
Murder.
Yeah. I'm going to hire some skeevy folks and I'm going to do an assassination. And he hires these 2 knuckleheads.
That's the best way to describe them.
And he's like, kill Aemon Targaryen, please. He's got an eye patch and blonde hair. He's hard to miss. And these 2 knuckleheads go into the Red Keep and they're like, can't find him.
Can't find them.
But we found the sister, though.
Right.
And he's like, we can't kill her.
Right.
Like, she's a lady.
Let's just kill a baby.
Yeah. Let's kill a baby instead.
So they have the 2 kids, Jaehaerys and I don't know what the daughter's name is.
Oh,
I always
it's,
forget.
I know the name. It's like similar. Jaehaera? Or
Is it
something?
Jaehaera?
It's something similar, yeah. They're
And
twins.
they make Helena choose, and Helena sails baby Jaehaerys up the river.
Oh, they do the Oliver Queen with Deathstroke from Arrow season 2. Choose.
And yeah, this baby gets his head sewn off.
Terrible.
It's horrifying. I didn't like it.
And it's like, it's just because of the beginning of the episode too, where, like, you know, Aegon has him running around. Him and Tylan get into it a little bit. It happened. Tylan's like, that sucks. Sorry about your son, man.
But
Stupid little kid.
I mean, after that happens, I think you're the one who, you know, what was the first thing that you texted me was like, I can't wait to see how Aegon reacts.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
curious.
yeah,
He
yep.
killed it. Like, the actor.
And
I
it's a
thought he
side,
did a great job.
it's a side of him you've never seen.
Yeah.
Like, you understood based on episode 1 that, like, he clearly loved his son and the lineage that he would carry, but, you know, to see him react in that way, like, very, you know,
I
it
felt so
humanizes
bad for him.
it humanizes him. And you're like, do I feel bad for Aegon? And you do feel bad for him, and you feel bad for Helena, and then, you know, it sends Aegon on this quest to be the king that he feels like he should be.
The warmonger.
And unfortunately, he's not equipped for that.
No, he doesn't.
You don't have the facilities for that big man. And it culminates for Aegon in the Rook's Rest battle, where he gets drunk.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm going.
Yep.
Well, and the rat catchers, too. He messed up there, too.
And
I get his anger, but that's
a good point, too, because I think what this season does well is finally round out, Westeros. Like, I feel like it rounds out not the bottom half. Sorry. I mean,
the small folk.
Yeah, Vermithor certainly thought so, but yeah, it rounds out the small folk, and it makes the world feel a little bit more real when you do that. Like, Aegon he rounds up every rat catcher and murders them, and Alicent's like, and Otto are like, you idiot, you don't understand what you did.
Otto literally says it.
Yeah, you don't get it. You don't get it.
My grandson is a fool. He's worse than a fool. Otto, man.
Mm-hmm. We love Reese Fonz here.
But Aegon's ultimate destiny in the season is to get cooked by Rhaenys.
Yeah.
He takes Sunfire out for a spin. Poor Sunfire.
Yeah.
Sunfire.
Awful.
Sunfire caught a bad deal.
Yeah, he did.
Sunfire was like, "Oh, we're gonna go on a joyride.
Yeah.
Me and my dad, we're going on a joyride. It's gonna be fun." And then he flies, and Sunfire's like, "I know that ain't Meleys, the Red Queen, right?" And Meleys, Meleys said, "I don't care.
Yeah,
who you are.
we don't care.
You're catching these hands."
Yeah, see Smoke look, he's just like, or Sunfire look, he's like, she looking at me? Is that for me?
The War Dragon, the Red Queen, showed up. But it is not the Red Queen that undoes Aegon. It is his own brother.
Yep.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yep. He wouldn't have done it if he didn't mess with him at that brothel. I don't think. I don't think he would have done it.
How sad was that? Aegon was so excited. He's like, "Oh, my brother's here." Like,
yeah, my brother's here to save the day. Meanwhile,
he was like, "No."
Meanwhile, I was like, Aemon's like, I want nothing more for
for
you to be murdered. Actually, I need you to be dead.
He did the Anakin Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Aegon was like, "You're here to stop Meleys, right?"
You're here to stop
Meleys. Dracarys sends Aegon and Sunfire careening to the ground.
Right.
Big explosion.
Big explosion. Yep.
It's horrible, like what happens to the dragons, but I do like that they're kind of like living fighter jets.
Yeah. Yep.
Insofar as like when they crash down, they like explode.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my god!
It turned into like a gladiator scene at the end on the ground when everybody was crashing down too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're like, holy shit!
But if we rewind, Kristen Cole's like, that Kristen Cole got humbled. He's like, wow, I don't even need the cloak. It doesn't actually matter. But if we rewind a week, our channel favorite Matt Smith is on an adventure. He gets a side quest this season. Shout out him.
Wait, we got to finish talking about Aegon.
Oh yeah.
He recovers.
He does recover.
In a manner of speaking.
Give him the milk of the poppy.
And he gets adopted by our old pal Lara Strong.
Yeah.
The creepiest.
He is creepy. Even Littlefinger would.
He's like Littlefinger without any subtlety.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just gonna tell you my schemes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could tell he like feels for Aegon too.
He sees a kindred.
He like sees
crippled
himself.
spirit.
Yeah, so he's doing it partly for that too. I think.
Think he was waiting for that? He was happy he got crippled? He's like, ooh, now I got someone I can relate to.
He wanted to,
right?
Yeah, he wanted
You're
to,
like me now.
Yeah, you're like me now.
He literally says that to him.
Yeah.
He's like, I know how it feels to be crippled. Like,
Yeah.
Your leg's a little messed up.
Yeah, right. Like,
Aegon is literally torched.
Right.
Like on half of his body. We are not the same.
Yeah. We're not saying the same thing.
But also he wanted to stick it to Aemond a little bit because Larys is... I love that scene when
He's
Aemond
scared
is...
of him, yeah.
Well, and they have that scene where Aemond is like, I need a new hand. New hand, anybody. And Larys is like, oh, you shouldn't have.
Yeah,
And
what?
Aemond's like, not you.
Idiot.
Get lost. Go get Otto Hightower. The real hand. And Larys is like, I'll show you the real hand. But Larys, much like, in a weird way, much like Helena kind of sees the long game, where he's like, look, this war is over, dude. Like, Rhaenyra has 1 billion dragons. You have your brother, and that's it. So, we get out of here, right? And then Rhaenyra comes in, and then you come back. Big comeback. Big Aegon comeback.
Yeah.
A rebuilder, or whatever he says.
And then the whole time Aegon's like, my life sucks.
Yeah.
I can't have kids anymore. I look like my dad. This is horrible.
It's a great parallel to Viserys.
Yeah.
Man, poor Aegon. But, again, this rounds up his arc, and now he gets to presumably who knows if Larys's kind of plans come to fruition and Rhaenyra takes the throne and then Aegon returns. I mean, they're not shelving Aegon for no reason. Like I think he is destined to come back.
Well, once Helena said that too. Everything she said so far has happened in some way or another, so.
Yeah, and I also don't think Sunfire is dead.
No, I thought the same thing too. I literally
I never thought that. I don't think anyone ever said he was dead. I thought it was just his wing.
Well, I think that was the public knowledge because they don't want just a random, not a random, but they don't want a dragon flying out there. So, like, essentially too, and this goes to like the formidable nature of Vhagar. Like, you go in the air against Vhagar, you're toast. That's the whole thing, and that's why it was so important that Rhaenyra did what she did. She's like, I don't care who's riding these dragons. I need guns in the air. That's all I need.
He's gonna outnumber.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Aegon is obviously under the impression that his dragon is dead because why wouldn't he be?
Right.
But I think Sunfire is also primed for a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback.
And from Aegon, we go to Aemond, his brother, who gets a lot to do. Who gets a lot to do this season.
Yeah. Be a jerk.
Primarily. He becomes king.
Yeah, he does. Kinda. Oh, he does a thing, our bit from last season, where we're like, that throne looks kind of empty. Anybody can sit on it and take the throne? That's how it works, right? It's like, no, that's not how it works. I don't see a rule that says it doesn't work, so.
He becomes Prince Regent, and that guy knows one speed.
Yep. Go.
We're invading, we're burning, we're winning this war. Damn it. Him and Kristen Cole form a little sneaky alliance.
Right.
That seems to change after the events of Rook's Rest.
Right. Well, I mean, we can talk about that episode because I think that's the one that we should bottleneck a little bit towards the end of this. But yeah, no, I see it as well.
Like Kristen, like they were buddy scheming together, and then that Rook's Rest happened, and Kristen Cole was like, he actually might be a psycho.
No, Kristen Cole found Jesus after that fight. He was like, oh Lord.
So yeah, because Aemond, man. I mean, it's a nuanced performance by Ewan Mitchell in the sense that like you do kind of feel for him a little bit, but then he just takes it too far. And
it's good. That's the point. That's the point in my opinion. Like, you are the warmongering brother. Like, and it also helps Aegon's case for like, as much as we hated Aegon last year, and as much as we felt for him losing control over Vhagar, accidentally killing Luke. Like, that's gone now. Like, I'm going to become the person that I was meant to be this whole thing, which is a big theme of this season. It's the question, like, everybody's got that mirror this season. Every single character, you can go down the line, they got the mirror. Like, do I turn into this? And episode 8 solidified it. Like, do I have to turn into this? Like, Corlys went the other way. Aemond went to it. Aegon went the other way. Like, all these characters had the choice. So,
yeah, that's a great point. And, like I said, like, there's that moment, that moment in the brothel is really important in the sense that, like, you're reminded
that it was
of, like,
disgusting?
It was disgusting. And then you're reminded that, like, oh, Aegon is a dick. Like as much as I want to, like, you obviously feel for him, and he was thrust in this position. At the end of the day, he literally has no respect for Aemond. Never has had respect for Aemond. So when Aemond does what he does at Rook's Rest, you're like, kind of get it.
I told you. I said he wouldn't have done that unless it's such a small, quote unquote, small thing, but like that meant everything to Aemond. Like that, like you just like this is where I come to find a little bit of peace in this actual war, and it's more to the point, like. Aegon, what problems do you have? You don't have any problems. Obviously, your son was murdered. That sucks. But, like, you don't have any like, look at you now. You get to go party. You get to go be the king. You have everything that I want. And I have to come here, be held because my mom won't do that for me. Like, I have to, I have to fight twice as hard as you do to have any sort of credibility. And, like, look at you. You get to sit at the top of that council because you were born first. That's the only difference between me and you.
Yeah, and he even says to her, too, how he didn't mean to kill Luke. Like, the dragon went, it really was an accident, even though he was being reckless.
Yep.
So you do feel for him that episode a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, from his perspective, he has the biggest dog in the fight.
Yeah.
Like, he should be more respected and feared because he has Vhagar. And he's just like, what else do I have to do?
Right.
Like, to prove that I'm the biggest, I'm the biggest gun in this fight. And the only way he can do it is by taking his brother out of the equation and taking what he feels is his rightful seat,
That's true. What's the plan? What's the plot of this season?
Well, we thought it was going to be a war. But
yeah. Let's do the war. HBO said, and HBO said, "Well, relax. We got 2 more seasons. Just just chill out.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes down to just, you know, we're moving towards inevitability, I think, is what the theme of the season was. And, you know, I think Alicent is a great lynch point for that idea, because she has this, you know, she starts to have some doubts,
Yeah.
I think you could say, when Rhaenyra brings her the prophecy, and Alicent's like, uh-oh.
Right.
You know? Yeah, I don't know. Where do you fall on Alicent this season?
I do feel bad for Alicent. I just think everything that has happened is really on her and Otto. So it's like hard to feel bad for her, but I do. It's also her children, so you can understand her point of view. Like, yes, you know, her children are shitty, but they're still her kids and she loves them, you know, so.
It's like the Cersei
I don't know,
Lannister
I mean-
thing.
Right. And that's my piece between the, like, she has this, like, splitting dichotomy, but like, right down the middle, because it's her kids. Like, that's the only piece that's humanizing her, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
that, like, motherly instinct that she's always had. She's always had that. She had it for Rhaenyra, and then it passed to Viserys, and then it passed to, you know, and then it passed to her kids. Like, she's always had that in her. It's just, in my opinion, Alicent always catches the selfish piece, and that goes back to my point talking about, like, she's always been at the mercy of somebody else. So by the time, you know, it's her being with Kristen Cole, like, she finally gets the chance to make a decision, and, like, I feel like every time she gets a chance, she makes the wrong decision for herself.
Or accidental. I mean, the whole
It's
thing
true.
with
That's
baby
true.
Jaehaerys. I mean, she was with the Cole during that time. You know,
That's
she
why I
feels
hate
guilt.
her so much. That was
you
my
know?
true hate for her.
But it's like, she obviously wouldn't have wanted that to happen. It wasn't her intent. You know, just, it happened and it was shitty. But, you know, so stuff like that where I feel bad for her.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, she's meant to be this kind of, but I mean, I think a great kind of point that you're making about, like, she takes all the selfish qualities of being a mother, because when she asks her brother about her other son, Darren, and I think secretly she was kind of hoping that Gwen would be like, oh, Darren sucks. Like, so she could be like, oh, okay, maybe it's not me. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
it's you.
maybe my kids are just monsters. But when he I think it does kind of break her heart a little bit when Gwen tells her, like, Darren's the best. Not being raised by you.
Yeah,
you know what
look.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's well adjusted, he's smart, you know, everyone likes him. He
But
can
in her
sing.
defense, too. In her defense, like, Viserys, though, wasn't the best dad to them.
No.
You know, so I feel like just the combination, like, for all three of her or four of her kids, you know, none of them really had that parent in their lives, you know. So it's not all on Alicent, you know. Viserys made mistakes as well, maybe even worse than Alicent as the king, you know.
That's actually not a bad point, too, about Viserys. Like, you know, and that's the difference between him and Corlys, is, like, Corlys's might have not been through, you know, naivete, but, like, you know, it's willful ignorance that Viserys was having. Like, he willfully just said, I love Rhaenyra, and that's pretty much it. Like, this is the only one that I actually really like out of all my kids. And, like, out of that whole period of peace, like, he still had to do crappy things in that time. Like, he still made bad decisions in that whole time. Like, he wasn't, like... And I love how, like, the overarch is, like, Viserys was such this good man that had all this peace. I was like, you don't pay... You pay for peace. Like, you do have to pay for peace with something. And he... It was by, you know, taking out variables from his life. And some of those were his other kids.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was the strongest leader to have or a good dad. I think he was a really nice guy, you know.
It's the Ned Stark thing, like, what is being... And it's the thing that I'm very fearful for Helena. I'm glad what they did in the last episode with Helena. Like, what does being good get you in this universe? It gets you killed.
Usually nothing.
Yeah, usually nothing. It gets you...
Historically.
Gets you violently murdered or very sick.
Yeah, it's a great point. At the same time, like, I did appreciate the Paddy Considine scenes that we got this season.
Remember,
Because,
I texted you immediately. I was like, my goat's back.
yeah, it felt like just a warm hug when he showed up, and you're like, oh, that's what a king looks like,
Yeah.
and talks like, and sounds like. Like, not any of these people who don't have anything figured out. Like, you realize the kind of hold that Viserys had on everyone until he didn't, because, like you said, he was once his original recipe son died, he just put all of it into Rhaenyra. So by the time he had Aegon, like, he was just like, in his mind, Aegon's not the heir. So, like, why am I going to raise him?
Right.
You know, obviously that turned out to be the worst thing he could have done.
Yep.
But, you know, it's a great point. And then, I mean, I don't know who else we got on Team Green to talk about.
I mean, Otto
Hightower,
we got
yeah. Not as much screen time this season for Otto Hightower. He gets kind of thrown away.
That's the TV sin of the situation of like you get so much room to play, and like you obviously going season to season, you got to give some people some shine. So I think Reese Fonz was so freaking good last season and so pivotal last season that we're like, well, we can't do this again because they're not kids anymore. Like, you know, Jace, Aegon, Aemon, they're not kids, so obviously they're going to turn into these main characters. We have to deal with all the Velaryons on top of this as well. Like, Otto might have to take a step back.
And then he shows back up in the finale in a box. You're like, wait,
they captured my king. This is horrible.
I kind of would have substituted out some Daemon Harrenhal stuff for like
what happened to Otto? Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Aemon asked for him to come back, and then you don't see him come back.
Right.
Until that last scene, he's in a cell or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like in a box, and a torch comes over him.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was Aegon, and I'm like, oh, he's escaping King's Landing, and then he turned more, and I'm like, wait a minute.
You're Reese Fonz from The Amazing Spider-Man. Holy crap.
Like, wait, it's Otto Hightower. Show me more of that. So I guess we'll pick up next season wherever Otto is, but
they should do a whole Otto anthology episode next season. Just one full dedicated. This is what Otto's been up to.
This is what happened
since his birth until he got in that box. We're just going to show everything that he's been through.
6 months prior. But he has that. I mean, he has that outstanding scene where he finally just loses it on Aegon, and like that's one of my favorite scenes, just because everyone in this show was so great at facial acting, and that was like the best thing when Otto was like, "You knucklehead, why did you kill all the rat catchers?" And he was like, "We had to do something." And then Aegon goes, "Sir Kristen Cole has acted," and Otto just goes,
"What?"
And what has Sir Kristen Cole done? And Aegon was like, "He sent Sir Eric over there to kill Rhaenyra. He's gonna disguise him his own twin. Brilliant."
Oh, what did I say? I said that's the most Disney Channel original movie plot I've ever seen.
Well, Otto even says he calls it a prank.
Yeah,
he's like by himself.
That actually in universe was the first time anybody had said the word prank. He came up with it right there. It was insane.
He's like, "And you signed off on this prank?" I'm like, "It's an assassination." Otto. And then Aegon's like, "You're fired."
I was like, good.
He throws the pin. He throws it at Kristen Cole, and he's like, "Take that.
Have fun, idiot. Have fun."
Have fun. And Kristen Cole didn't have a good time.
No, he didn't. He had the worst time. Kristen Cole caught existentialism by being the hand of the king.
After he became hand of the king, he was like, "Actually, I don't want to do this anymore."
No.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
So Otto's gone. And then I guess who's left? Helena?
Yeah, we kind of touched on Helena a little bit too. Obviously, you feel like I said, she's the goodest of good in this universe.
Oh man, that line she had in the finale where she was like, "I was happier before I was queen." I was like, oh. But I mean, she's much like Bran Stark is gonna appear to be integral to like the grand machination of how this all goes. And I do like that she like was like, "All right, I'm done being subtle."
Yeah. I can see the future, guys. I didn't want to tell anybody before, but
I'm spoiling season 3 for you guys.
And Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm just gonna go through the whole thing.
And I just love that, of all the... I think that scene with Daemon is really telling, where, like, she can conceivably do this with anybody. But it's very telling that she comes to Daemon, of all people, and is like, you're the main character, Matt Smith. Like, you're gonna be the one that turns the true tide of this war, and like you're gonna die in the process, but what you do when you deal with Aemon is gonna be like the most consequential moment of the war. And that's also the showrunners going, Aemon versus Daemon, like it's gonna rock.
And normally we would end with Rhaenyra because you just said main character, but we're ending with Matt Smith. I'm sorry, he's gonna be the last character we talk about. Yeah, we're gonna.
We're giving him the whole casting of that show. Oh my god, they just killed it.
It's phenomenal.
All of them.
There's not one person where I'm like, oh no. There's not. Every single last one of them is remarkable,
and they all leveled up.
Yep,
this season, like that actor jump was pretty jarring in season 1, especially the Rhaenyra thing, like going from Millie Alcock to Emma Darcy. But like they wrote around it, and they made the Emma Darcy version so distinctive now to the Millie Alcock version. So like that was. It was great. Everyone was great this season.
Let's talk about her. Let's talk about the main character of this season. That's Rhaenyra. And I mean, the first episode, You want to talk about, like, the concept of what acting is? That's it. Like, I don't need to say anything this whole time. She has one line of dialogue, that whole thing, and it's sorrow she feels, but it's sorrow, and it's such an interesting call to action. It's like a call to action. I didn't really think of it that way until the last episode. I was like, that's what that whole episode 1 was. It wasn't like it was that grieving period, but like, this is the why. Because before it was like, you're told to do this, and like, this is your path, but this is the why you're doing this now.
Rhaenyra, thoughts?
Even though you like Alicent
I mean, I know
more.
I joke around where it's like we're always seeing scenes of her just staring, but like her acting, it's like, you know, it's just Rhaenyra really killed it with that. But I mean, I love her. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, she goes on this journey to like discover the kind of ruler she wants to be.
and she tries to be, you know, peaceful. Like she doesn't want all of this war and blood, you know.
She gives everybody every chance not to do it to her. She's like, don't do it, and everybody keeps trying her the whole season.
It's like the detriment of her own small council too. Like they're like, "Hey, are you gonna actually do something, or like do we have to? do we have
I
to?"
like that she like goes her own. Like she doesn't listen to them. Like she hears them, but she's like, I'm gonna go on my own path and decide when we're gonna do this. So.
And that's the beauty between her and Millie Alcock. That's where Millie Alcock comes back into the equation, because that's exactly how she was when she was a kid. Like that's what connects the two of them as actors back to that character as well too. So
100%. Yeah, and she's, you know, like I said, she comes to the grips with the kind of ruler she wants to be, in the sense that like she originally, like you said, like tries to go the peaceful route, and then what ends up happening is she gets her hand forced. And then she almost goes too far in the other direction, where now she's like, I'm putting anybody on a dragon and I'm winning this damn thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the only thing I thought was a little. I don't know if I would have done that in her.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And that's kind of like the sad thing about it is, and then you know, Jace too, like can't ride really.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about Jace. She won't let him ride, right?
Yeah,
because of Luke.
Because of Luke, presumably. Yeah.
So that's one less rider without him. Then
that's the sad nature of her relationship, and it's also she's seen it too many times, and I love how much she holds him to the chest of like, and it's to the point where like Jace is, it's such like a simple like mom and son thing, or like parent and kid thing, where it's like, Mom, I want to go out and be great, and he's like, no, I need to keep you safe, and he's like, why? Like, you're not giving me an answer. It's like, where's your brother right now? Your brother's dead. That's exact. I can't.
On top of the fact that you're the heir,
right.
So you're pretty much, you know, if I die,
right? And she essentially signed his life and death warrant as soon as she told him the song of Ice and Fire, right?
Yeah. So like you're down Cyrax, you're down Vermax, you're down Caraxes essentially. So it was really just Rhaenys, and then so when Rhaenys goes, like the war is essentially over until Rhaenyra, you know, throws this Hail Mary of finding riders for the other dragons.
She pulls 2 Hail Marys. The first one was very smart, and it's the small folk. You have to win over the people.
That was Masaria's brainchild. Right. Who's another character we can, I guess.
Yeah, but that scene was great.
Oh, yeah.
With the ships coming.
Yep, it's genius. It's and it totally undoes everything that Aegon is about and everything that Team Green's about. It's such that separation between, like, you're them, and then we're us. We're above, and you guys are less than, like... To Rhaenyra, it's like, it's obviously it's a scheme and it's a plan. It's not a prank, but it is something. But we are going to get the people on our side. So once we get into, and it plays on the beginning, who was fighting? It's the Stepstones, right? All
fucking Stepstones.
They can't get over the Stepstones. You know, and it's such another piece, and it goes to Kristen Cole's monologue. It's those two factions have been fighting for as long as they've been fighting. It's a big theme in the season. Like, when did they start fighting?
Oh, the Brackens and the Blackwood.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, when did they start fighting? Who knows? It doesn't matter. And unfortunately, the Targaryens and we're gonna get into the same thing. Like, when did we start fighting? Doesn't matter. We've been fighting, and people are gonna. And Rhaenys said, she tells her, she's just like, careful how you tread this, because you're gonna lose a lot of people. You're gonna, you might diminish your legacy. You're gonna do all these things, but why? Like, you're gonna do this for what? In 100, 200, 300 years, like 400, 500, 1,000 years, like, people are going to be like, what was the start of this war? And everybody's going to be like, well, I don't know. I think they just don't like each other. And like, but why? Like, there's, again, that's Kristen Cole's whole point. Like, none of this matters to anything. This doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It reminds me of what Tywin Lannister says to, I think, Jaime in Game of Thrones, when he's like, look, you die, I die, Tyrion dies, Cersei dies, like the only thing that lives is our name. Like, the Lannister name is all that matters. Like, so there's kind of like that inroad too. Like, it doesn't matter what we do in this moment, and it's the moment that Daemon comes to in the finale. Like, we're fighting for a bigger picture. We're fighting for the future of our generation, of our bloodline. Like, that's the purpose at the end of the day. And and Mysaria becomes this weapon of the small folk. Like, she, I think she has her own kind of machinations, but it's a great insight to, at the end of the day, this war is literally this is a war between, not for the betterment of the realm. It's just two factions of the same family fighting this civil war that, doesn't, it affects the small folk, but like, they're not getting any input here.
This is just a family affair at the end of the day. This is what this family affair that will literally infect and decide the fate of Westeros is all because somebody cut another kid's eye out. If we really want to get down to the black and white of it.
Yeah, and it the scene that sticks with me is when, after Rook's Rest, when they're parading Maelyse's head through the street, and Kristen Cole was like, why aren't they cheering? Like, why aren't they? Because they don't care. Like, they don't care.
They can't eat. They have no food. Like, why does this matter to anybody?
Like, and Rhaenyra's, she's obviously a little more magnanimous with the donation of the food, but like, it's almost like they're not treating this. Neither side is really treating the small folk as people. They're just treating them as these tokens to turn the tide of the war. And it's going to be very interesting to, presumably when Rhaenyra gains control of the Iron Throne, like how she actually rules. Like, great, you have the throne, but now what do you do with it?
Well, and I think Hugh and Ulf might play a role in that, being just small folk, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, we can talk about those two.
Yep. Let's talk about the three of them, the three new dragon riders that they have.
Yeah, Adam of Hall, Hugh Hammer, and Ulf. Ulf, don't know his surname.
Yeah, neither does he. Presumably. So.
They act as, Ulf and Hugh especially act as these lenses of the small folk. And you obviously, like, TV trope tells you that these characters are going to become important, because why are we giving them screen time every episode?
Right.
And then we find out that when Rhaenyra hatches this master plan to get dragon riders, those two obviously go, and you're like, oh well. Did you think at any time one of them was going to fail?
I thought Ulf was going to die when he fell off the thing. But Hugh, I thought was going to get...
He gave more main character energy.
He did a little bit. Like, Ulf, I felt like, because he was kind of like, he would drink and, kind of hang out, but I feel like Hugh had more of, like, with his daughter dying, you know what I mean? Like, his story was a little more, I don't know the word.
It's such a good piece between the two sides, because this season also, like I keep saying, it dealt with the small versus, like, the family affair that's going on, and why does any of the small folk have to matter? Like, this also helps that a little bit, the connection piece a little bit too, which I like. Of like, Hugh's like, I will fight with Rhaenyra. Like, look what she just did for me. She got my family food. She essentially saves my life without directly doing it. And what have the Greens ever done for me? They've done nothing for me except for give me pain and torture and, have me try to care about, these battles and these fights and these political wars that my family hasn't eaten in weeks. Why am I even worried about anything that they're doing? I'm going to pledge loyalty to her, though, because she seems to care about everybody. Even though, again, it was a scheme. Like, it's an effective scheme. It worked.
Well, that's what I'm hoping happens, and they don't turn somehow.
I think he's going to die next season, though. Hugh, I think
Which one? Oh.
He's too noble not to die. Like, he was too good. And again, it's such a good piece about the whole thing of Game of Thrones. It's like, where does nobility and honor get you? It gets you killed.
Well, and also just the... I think the way that those two claim their dragons is very indicative of their character.
Yep. Hugh is ready to sacrifice himself to save a person he just does not know.
Yeah, he's respectful,
Versus Ulf literally stumbles into the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think those two scenes were very indicative of their character. And unfortunately, I do suspect Ulf will turn on Rhaenyra.
All they have to do is offer him alcohol, and he'll be like, "Oh."
I think he's going to turn for. I think he's going to turn for greater ambition. Like, I think that's where his mind is at now. Like, even Rhaenyra was like, "I'll make you a knight," and Ulf almost seemed like a knight.
Yeah,
like, I'm more than a knight. Like, I have a dragon.
Right.
Like, so it feels like he's one conversation with an Otto Hightower away from switching sides.
Sure.
And if a dragon switches sides, like, that's a massive power shift.
Because if the whole plan is because imagine if Vhagar has help. It's like LeBron James in 2012. What if Vhagar gets help?
Right? Or like in the middle of a battle. Too,
yeah.
like,
He's like, I don't feel like dying. I'm turning against you, and like now I have the biggest dragon in the sky. Like I'm good. Like, or what I think he's gonna do, I just think he's gonna peace out. I think he's gonna peace out, and we're never gonna hear from him again.
That's
and
possible.
just leave it.
Well,
like
that's
that.
what I was thinking too, because he just doesn't seem like that war fighter type of guy.
No.
Like he just seems like, I'm gonna take my dragon.
He's an opportunistic
whatever,
person.
you know?
That's all he is. No, that's a good point.
I think he's definitely gonna be the lens of, where kind of like Jace's fear comes with this. Where like I think Ulf is gonna be the personification of that. Where like he's gonna be the one that like, he got this dragon and then he peaced out, or he turned on you, and Jason's gonna be like, see,
I told you. I
Yeah.
tried to tell you this whole time.
Yeah.
or worse yet, maybe Ulf's treachery gets one of them killed. Like,
And I think it's going to be Hugh. Like,
that would make a lot of sense.
I don't see Hugh surviving this because Hugh was so good. he was this person that's a family man that, accepted, like, this unbeknownst accepting of this fate of his life that he had no prior knowledge to.
Because they do seem linked in that way. I could see them, like, Rhaenyra sending them out, like, together, and then Ulf just being like,
See ya.
and kind of leaving Hugh out to dry.
And he was like, what the?
Well, so Ulf is Daemon and Viserys' half brother,
Yes.
and then Hugh is who again?
He...
Sarah is his mom. Who is that?
I think so. I think Sarah Targaryen, right? I think that's
Something like that, yeah.
But who is that?
I think
Viserys'
it was
sister.
Viserys' sister.
Sister, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so he'd be Rhaenyra's half-brother.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep.
Or cousin? Something like that. I don't know. Targaryens are weird.
Cousin, is that right?
And then we get to Adam of Hull.
Shout out Adam. My favorite one out of these two.
Alan's younger brother, so he already kind of has like that younger brother syndrome, but he has it worse because he's a bastard on top of that.
Yeah, I hope Alan comes to the fold.
Well, I think he's going to do it on like the sea, like on the seafront. Like as much as he hates Corlys, he's going to turn into Corlys when it comes to being on the sea and being like, because they set it up well in the first time we meet Alan. It's like Alan's like, I'm good at this. Like I'm good at leading these men. Like I don't need all this glory and fame. Like I just need to be good at what I do, and I am right now too.
And Adam becomes the first dragon rider to be claimed by a dragon.
Oh, wild.
And then we can just debunk the other son, Jace and Luke's father, their real father.
Harwin Strong?
No.
Oh, Daemon.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's dead, right? That's what people think.
Who?
What's his name?
Laenor.
Laenor, yeah.
Laenor Velaryon.
He's dead, right?
They think he's dead, yeah.
Because you can't claim another rider unless your dragon is dead. How they know that, I don't know. Maybe he just went on a vacation. Maybe he's at the Stepstones.
No, he probably died somewhere. I think that is a thing where dragons can't
I find it so hard to believe they kill that character off screen. I find that infinitely hard to believe that they.
Unless he like just.
Well, he's not really relevant at this point. I don't think he.
I mean, it's true.
He's not coming back.
Everybody else from season 1 is there except for him. Like he's one of the only ones that's just not there that we.
But
didn't
man,
know.
he got a happy ending.
He did.
I don't think he's coming back. I think he never wanted the royalty. He just wanted to go do what he was doing.
Right.
I think he did that and probably passed away.
That's
Rest in
fair.
peace.
Yeah, maybe.
He's a good dude.
Or Sea Smoke was just like.
I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah. Sea Smoke's like, you good, bro? He's like, I'm good. You good, bro? Yeah. And then he's like, all right.
Chased Adam down through the woods.
I'm gonna go find your half brother.
That was an insane sequence.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was nuts.
I did like that though. Like Sea Smoke flew overhead, and Adam's like, "Cool, a dragon." And then Sea Smoke like hit the U-turn, and Adam's like, "Oh no!"
It's like
interesting that it's his brother, his half brother too. So
Yep.
Yeah,
it's like
of all people.
It's like the dinosaur meme with the with the meteor coming down there. It's like that meteor looks cool. And it's like getting kind of close over there.
The dragon's coming. You looking at me?
You looking at me?
And I also love the scene with Adam and Rhaenyra too, where Rhaenyra rocks up and she's like, "You off that dragon now!" And Adam's like, "Whoa!"
I don't know what's going on. I just became a dragon rider like an hour ago.
This dragon found me.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, get off."
Yeah, get off.
And he's like, "I'm cool.
It's fine.
I'm yours.
What do you
You're
need from me?"
And Rhaenyra's like, "Huh?
You called me the queen. Keep the dragon.
It's on me. It's on the house.
Yeah, I know your daddy.
It's on the house Targaryen."
Put it on my tab.
And I also think it's really interesting, like Adam's whole thing with Corlys too, where like Adam also he has like twice removed inferiority.
Sure.
Because he was like, he's looking at Alan, he's like, yeah, we're both bastards, but like Corlys at least acknowledges you.
Right.
Like I get nothing until I get a dragon, and Corlys was like, my son.
Yeah, my sons. Look at you. My beautiful sons. This is
I thought he
amazing.
was going to say something to Rhaenyra and
I
say,
think-
that's my son, but
I think it was purposeful. He's like, we got to keep. There's a war to be fought. We can't have more family. My brother's dead. We can't have more of that. Like, I can't have that.
Yeah, true. Not the right time.
I guess that rounds out because the rest of Rhaenyra's team is like minor characters.
We didn't even talk about the Sir Eric and Sir Eric.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
We can talk about them
Yeah.
now. Man, rough.
Mm-hmm.
Poor guys. Like, again, like they're kind of like an avenue into like none of this matters except for the families involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like these two just happened to be twins that just fell on opposite sides of the Civil War.
It's exactly. It's the Civil War thing. It's and again, man. I don't know
both
who.
get kind of thrown into.
Again, I don't know who cooked up that Kristen Cole monologue from the last episode, but everything keeps tying back to that piece of like, you're telling me these two brothers that loved each other their entire lives just so happened to fall on what like a coin flip side, and now they're both dead because of this.
Killed each other.
They killed each other. Like, what was the point of any of this?
For a prank.
For a prank. It was a prank. It wasn't a scheme.
Brother!
Insane. What a fight, too. That was actually that was a solid choreographed fight as well, too. When the show is on, technically.
Well, I think I told you that I felt that fight more than I felt the Mountain and the Hound fight from Game of Thrones. Like there was more to it. Like there was like you could feel their emotion. Like
Well, it was sad. Yeah, the Mountain and what's his name, the Hound. That was more like we hated the Mountain.
because he was
the
a zombie.
But both those twin brothers, I mean, they were both. Yeah, like you guys said, they were on either side, but they were both great guys. They loved each other.
They were
So-
loyal. That's
Yeah.
the only death sentence that they signed was loyalty.
Yeah.
It just so happened that they had to, find loyalty to a side, but it didn't
And
matter.
because
in the
Kristen
end.
Cole went on a power trip.
Yeah, Kristen
and a
freaking
guilt
Cole.
trip.
Yeah,
You're like, you prove your honor to me and
Oh,
go
I hated that scene.
go kill Rhaenyra.
He was such an asshole.
he's the worst. He's the worst.
He was an asshole. He was like, your cloak's dirty.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you? And Sir Eric's like, are you serious? I did like those other Kingsguard guys who were just like, "Oop."
we gotta go, man.
Trying to have breakfast.
Let's talk about the GOAT. Let's talk about him. Let's end on the greatest of all time.
Matt
Oh,
Smith?
Matt Smith.
Daemon Targaryen, what a journey he
Whatever
was on.
arc you thought he was going on, wrong. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Whatever you thought he was gonna do, nope.
No one can prepare you for
You thought he was gonna be some like him and Caraxes each week in the sky,
doing crimes.
doing crimes, couple fights here and there, going to a brothel here. Nope.
Episode 1 was
That was
promising.
Yeah,
One.
episode 1 was promising. He was
Episode
back
one-
to his season 1 schemes again.
He put his hoodie on.
Yep.
I was like, here we go.
Oh yeah. Gold cloaks unite. Didn't matter. Nope. Guess what he's doing this season? He's Luigi from Mario's Haunted
He's going
Mansion.
on a trip, Disney World, Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion. That's it.
He's going to the Haunted Mansion. So episode 2 rolls around. I love that, man, that scene. The scene was hilarious. It was unassuming. I don't know I don't know if it was supposed to be hilarious, but that scene when they're all sitting at the table and they're like, oh, who could have done this to, like, they're like, Rhaenyra, did you kill the baby? And Rhaenyra was like, what? Like, why would I kill a baby? Like, why would I do anything to Helena?
I just lost my son. Like, why would I ever do this?
And then everyone just starts looking around, and then
Rhaenys, yeah.
Rhaenys
yeah.
shoots a look at Daemon. Daemon shoots a look at
it's
Rhaenyra.
like,
Rhaenyra shoots a look back to Daemon, and then it cuts. Daemon's like, and then Rhaenyra's like, wait, you did this? And Daemon's like, look,
look.
to be fair, I said Aemond. Once that,
He goes, not my fault, blood and cheese are idiots. Does that seem like my problem? My
once I
bad.
let that fly, it's out of my hands. Like, I'm sorry, but look, I didn't think the kid was gonna get decapitated. And then Rhaenyra was like, "You're gonna go make this right. You're gonna go to Harrenhal, and you're gonna unite the Riverlands." And Daemon's like, "Fine." He thinks it's just gonna be a boring post in Harrenhal. Nope. He gets it. It's spooky time.
Yep, it is spooky time. Let's do a horror season, actually.
He gets to Harrenhal. It sucks. Anyone
does.
who's ever
It's
watched,
raining.
It's raining all the time. Anyone who's ever watched Game of Thrones, all the characters in Game of Thrones, like, Harrenhal sucks. Mm-hmm. Tywin Lannister gives Littlefinger Harrenhal at one point, and Littlefinger's like, Harrenhal sucks. And Tywin's like, I know. That's why I'm giving it to you, Littlefinger. You know why? Because you suck.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to Harrenhal, and my guy, Sir Simon Strong, is just there. Him and 3 of his closest friends.
Yeah, that's his only friends. They've been sitting in those same seats for 40 years. They haven't moved from those seats. They've been sitting there for years.
And Damon's like, you're Lara Strong's uncle, right? And he's like, yeah,
Yep.
but Lara Strong sucks.
Yep.
He killed everybody here. And Damon's like, that's off the record, though. And Simon's like, come on. It always rains here. How can there be a fire?
Right. Exactly.
Damon's like, all right, well, call the River Lords.
Yep.
I'm getting an army.
He's like, you don't want to eat first? We're just chilling.
Nope.
we're hanging out.
Get me the River Lords stat. And he's like, no.
Caraxes is up there. He's like, can we go now? He's like a kid. He's like, can we go now?
First night he sleeps at Harrenhal, he meets Alice Rivers. Mm-hmm. For those of you who thought Melisandre was weird,
It just got weirder.
it got way
You know
weirder.
why it's weirder? Because she's much more subtle about it. She's just like, this place is kind of weird. She's so upfront about it. She's
You spent like 3 episodes going, is she real?
Yeah, right. Yep. I
I
was
feel like
like,
her accent threw me off too, just in that universe.
Yeah.
She just sounded like she wasn't from there.
because maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was a figment of his imagination.
And he's having all sorts of visions. He's like,
Yeah.
you're Millie Alcock from season 1.
Yeah. Remember when we hooked up? That was weird.
But Alice Rivers is like, Daemon, I got some things to show you, but you're not ready.
Yeah, yep.
Daemon's like, what does that mean?
It doesn't matter.
He's seeing Aemond as himself. Mm-hmm. It's getting weird. Mm-hmm. And episode after episode, you're just like, what is happening?
Surely he's going to get back into the main plot. Nope.
Yeah, it was a little much. Right?
It was.
By episode 4, I'm like, all right, come on. Like, I want season 1, Damien.
Mm-hmm.
And you get it a little bit when he cooks up some schemes. He gets old Blackwood to rape and murder a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And then once again, he's confronted by this, and he's like, look, I told him to go handle it. Mm-hmm. I didn't think he was going to do that.
Right. And then the next week happens, and he's still there. And you're like, he's leaving soon, right? He's like, nope. Caraxes too is like, we're going, right? He's like, buddy, I got some things to handle here. Don't just get comfy.
He tries to bully young Oscar Tully into
and then Oscar Tully turns into a warmonger later. It was crazy.
Good character arc for Oscar Tully too.
Yeah, it was the most subtle, small character arc ever. Oscar Tully's like, I'm a little green for this. I don't know if I can. I'm a young kid. I don't know what he's doing. Then they get to the finale, and Oscar Tully's like,
I'm him.
I'm him, actually. Wait, this is mine, right? Like, I can do whatever I want.
Wait, I'm
right?
in charge.
Wait a second. You mean I don't have to answer to anybody?
But Daemon gets humbled. This whole time he's getting humbled. Like he's trying to cook up schemes. And the schemes...
he's like a dad on a Saturday morning. He's like, we're fixing Harrenhal. He's like, Dad, I want to just hang out. We're fixing Harrenhal. We're gonna have fun.
Schemes keep backfiring. He's like, I'm gonna unite the Riverlands, and the River Lords are like, get fucked.
Yeah. Yep. Damon's probably sitting there. He's like, why does nobody want to do anything? He's like, because we're comfy.
Even that one scene where he confronts the Bracken guy, and he's like, you can swear fealty to me, or you can burn. And the guy's like,
yeah.
But he doesn't even say, like, you don't see what the guy says. It just cuts to Daemon, and he's sitting there, and he's like, huh, that usually works. Like, he's like talking to William Blackwood, and he's like, I didn't think they'd be so eager to die. Like, usually when I threaten people with the dragon fire, they just do whatever I want.
Yep.
And William Blackwood's like, the River Lords are built different, my friend.
Joke's on you, they want to die. They've been waiting for this.
And then he ends up beheading William Blackwood.
Yep.
Which is kind of funny.
That surprised me. I didn't see that.
Shout out
happening.
Oscar Tully.
Oscar, yeah, he's like, you want to prove your loyalty? Like, this guy ruined a bunch of houses, like, behead him. And William Blackwood's like, surely we got
Yeah, we're good.
we have a thing, right? And Damon's like, I don't have friends.
Yeah, I don't have friends. Never met her.
I don't do friends, pal.
This sword, though. This sword gets some action.
You're about to meet Dark Sister. I love Daemon. I love him so much.
Because, like,
oh, he's the best.
A lesser actor could not pull this off where, like, you get taken out of the main plot of, like, a show that's arguably your top 3 most important character.
His name's first on the billing.
Right,
when
exactly.
the opening credits hit.
And, like,
his name is first.
You can throw, a litany of other good to great actors there, and they would fall at that. Like, but, like, I was invested each week because it was Matt Smith. I was like, I gotta see what he's up to. When you look at this as a comedy bit instead of an actual piece of the plot, it's much funnier. It's much better. He was like, he's just building the house at some point. Like, he was actually building the house. It was great.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, because we watched Game of Thrones, like, it was giving, like, Arya in the House of Black and White a little bit, I felt like.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Mm-hmm.
Where, like, you're like, what's the end result of
this has to mean something.
And, then again, that goes back to, like, the strength of the finale is, like, I feel like it did. Like, I feel like
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Every one of those visions ended up meaning something. Mm-hmm. And it kind of, like, again, like, the final vision was, like, the nail, like, where he was like, I see it now. I get it.
And that's why I loved the finale, just for doing that. You know, where it's like, this all makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
I think a bunch of those stories kind of came to a close, like, for season 3. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he had his, and then I loved it. Like I said before we hopped on, like he mastered the spookiness of Harrenhal
Yep.
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
point where like Sir Alfred comes up and he starts hearing voices. Like, did you hear that? And Daemon was like, "Hey, it's Harrenhal,
Yep.
man. You get used to it." And then, did you ever think he would turn on Rhaenyra? Because I didn't. I never bought into that plot.
No, I don't think so. Because even from season 1, like, we all knew he wanted to rule and be king. But I didn't think he would end up doing that.
I didn't think so either. I never really bought into that idea that like, because I felt like the whole point of his dream sequences was like him confronting all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they tried to do like a little bait and switch at the end with Sir Alfred coming and being like, "You should
Yeah.
be the king," and I guess you're supposed to think like, is he gonna do it? But like, I don't know. I never, even going back to like season 1, I don't think I never thought.
In a funny way, he's always been somewhat, he's been rebellious against her, but he's always been somewhat submissive to Rhaenyra to a point, to like to a solid point, not 100%, but he's like, he listens, like he to a point, and he listened in the finale for sure. He was just like, you know what? He basically says, "My bad, my bad" on that.
Yeah, I mean, him bowing to her at
Right.
the end is or kneeling
He's
to her
telling.
is a huge thing because, I think his submissiveness to her was also like without him realizing he was being submissive. So like for him to willingly get down on a knee and swear fealty to her was like that was the payoff.
Mm-hmm.
In front of all of that.
And it's also, that's his brother's daughter too. Like that's still this. As much as whatever him and his brother went through, he loves his brother. I don't care what anybody says. He still loves him to the end of the day, to the end of time. So as proxy through that, like, I love you, and I love you. You know what I mean? Like I still care for you, and like I would not do that to you.
No, it was just his anger, Like, even when they're arguing before he goes to Harrenhal, he says, like, he's doing this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just he's angry, like, her council, how they're like, Rhaenyra, like, we need action. And Daemon feels that way. So he's like, I should rule myself. But I never thought he was going to ultimately go that route, even though he was mad.
Yeah,
And it seemed like he was.
And it goes back to season 1 too, when he was mad at Viserys for listening to everyone but him. Where Viserys is like, "I tried to make you the king of the head of this and the head of this, and it never works." And Daemon's like, "Because I'm the only one that knows what's going on. Like I'm the only one. I'm the one. I should be your hand, and like you never asked me to be." So like he's always had that where like he's been waiting for someone to kind of recognize his value instead of like, I don't think it was ever his intention to like, maybe deep down like his intention was to be king, but like I think he just wanted to be heard.
Yeah, it was Viserys, I think, should have. I know Daemon's reckless sometimes, but I think Viserys should have listened to him more for sure.
Yeah, it's just made the
Changed
point
a lot.
of why Aemon and Daemon are on that collision. They're the same. They're two halves of the same coin. That's all they wanted. They're the little brothers. They're playing the little brother syndrome, and they can't get away from it. So unfortunately, there's only one little brother in this realm because Luke died. So
Yeah. And their names are the same, too.
Yeah, and I think that one
They're
vision he had is very telling, where he thinks he's following Aemond.
Which vision?
When he's following Aemond, like through Harrenhal, and then Aemond turns around and it's him,
Yeah.
like wearing Aemond's costume.
yep.
Yeah.
Was that jarring for you? That was a bit jarring for me. I was like, what the?
Yeah, I mean that pretty much puts it. I mean, and then Rhaenys. I mean, we have to talk about Rhaenys
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
wrap things up.
Phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, we forgot.
Strong. She's Sarah Connor level, Ripley level. She's the best. You want to talk about the ideology of standing on business? That's Rhaenys. She is
Queen who never was.
was queen
Yeah,
who
she's
never
so
was.
good.
And also, it's not just physical, but it's mental as well. And she's very philosophical on top of that too. Like she understands she understands the Game of Thrones that they're playing, and she understands the only way to play this game is to maybe not to play to an extent. Like maybe this is not what we need to do. And like it comes from this first episode. Like Damon's like, all right, we out. Let's go. She's just like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go take a nap. And he's like, we're fighting a war, right? She's like, okay.
Well, he says your king commands it. And
Yeah. She's like,
well,
if you find him, you let me know. You let me know because it's not you.
yeah, man. And then just that, like, to your point about the episode 4 with Rook's Rest, like, that's, like, I've never felt a moment more than when she gets up, like, at the table and she's like, I will meet Cole in the field. I'm like, oh
yeah,
shit.
yep.
And then she has that moment with Meleese, like, before they go out, and you're just like, something.
We had a bad feeling.
Yeah, something, and you get the feeling that, like, she also kind of knew it. Like,
Yeah, when she tightened her grip and she tightened her harness, I was like, oh yeah, you're unfortunately strapped into the end. So
and that moment where Sunfire goes down and she kind of like looks at Vhagar and she's just like, I kind of got to take a shot.
This is you know what it does too. I gotta show everybody that Vhagar isn't indestructible. Like if it's just me and I did this, imagine what a couple of us can do for this. Like her sacrifice revealed, the truth about everything.
Yeah, like part of me wishes she just flew away because her dragon's the fastest, I think.
Yeah.
But I understand why she went back too.
Again, not only is she the queen that never was, she's the queen of standing on business.
Yeah, she's a badass. She's awesome.
And, I think a lot of things go through her head in that moment, and one of which Daemon directly confronts her on in episode 2, I think it was, or 1, when he goes like, hey, like if you had rocked up and torched them all in the set, like we wouldn't be here. So I think part of her was also like, this is my chance to like atone for that. And if, like I think I said to both of you at different points, like if she kills Vhagar there, the war is over.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, whereas like she, as I think she did feel her self-importance, but also like the scales of which, like she probably feels like if Vhagar dies, the war's over. If I die, I think she had enough faith in Rhaenyra to still be able to pull through.
Well, that's like I said, it's like the line from Iron Man 2, like if you make God bleed, do they cease to exist? Like I made Vhagar bleed. At the very least, I showed like this is not an impossible task, and I think how it's going to play for Vhagar. I think Vhagar at some point is going to be like, I'm done. Like I've been doing this for hundreds of years. Like
I feel bad for Vhagar.
I'm sick of this.
Old girl. I mean, that's the oldest dragon. I think.
She's
by
like,
far,
exhausted.
Yep. She's like, I'm done. Like I've seen war.
Yeah.
Like war never changes. Like war never changes. Like I don't know how many different houses are going to come to power. How many different times are going to turn over kings and queens. Like doesn't matter. I'm always just going to be here just to fight for people that would not care about me otherwise. So intense thoughts for a dragon
too. Well, yeah, like for the dragons, I know they go by what their riders telling them to do. They're loyal, but I'm sure the dragons have love for each other.
right? And and that's my point. I think that Vhagar's like, I'm sick of this. Like,
Well, that's the thing too, is, kind of fast forwarding like where we think season 3 is going to go. Obviously the Daemon and Aemon thing is going to happen, but more importantly than that, in season 1, there's that opening, I forget which episode it is, but of Daemon and, what was his wife's name?
Oh, I forget.
Corlys's daughter.
I forget what it was. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant his other wife.
No.
Killed.
The one that she killed herself.
Lena, yeah. Lena,
Okay.
like they have that moment together where it's Caraxes and Vhagar kind of like playing together,
Oh, yeah.
and now
Yeah.
inevitably Caraxes and Vhagar are gonna have to fight each other. So I think that, like, to your point about the dragons, like they have these bonds, like the dragons have bonds together, and sometimes I feel like they don't necessarily see their riders, like they just kind of see each other. So like as much as Daemon and Aemon want to fight each other, like Caraxes and Vhagar are inevitably going to have to fight each other,
I'm going to fight you now.
That's the saddest thing to me in the show. Just the dragons killing each other, and these poor. I love the
They're
dragons.
tools.
Yeah.
But they're beings. Like, and again, they're the closest thing. It's what Kristen like. They're the closest thing to gods that we have, and like we're using them as tools. Like we're men. We should not be playing God in this, but we are.
Yeah.
And there's no, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like with Rhaenyra using all of the dragons, that to me too, it's like you're risking all of the dragons' lives. Like you can't just save 3 of them who don't have to ride to war. That can just,
I mean, to your point earlier too, like you said, it's like as much as Alicent feels desperate, that's the most desperation call that Rhaenyra ever could have made, ever could have hoped to, possibly that any king or queen has ever made in Westeros at that point. Like the point to sacrifice every single one of your dragons, and like we keep saying, like. Alf might make that switch and be like, either I'm out or I'm going to join. See that big dragon in the sky? Like, I'm joining the biggest dragon in the sky.
not.
And then, to your point about like seeing the dragons as weapons, there's one Targaryen in history who understood that that's not true, and that's Daenerys. Daenerys views them as her children, for as much as, these other dragons in this show love, their mounts, like none of them really speak about their dragons that way. Maybe Rhaenys is the closest. Like she had a bond with Meleys, but Meleys was also a war dragon. So like they kind of had that like bond of like mutually like we're go-getters, we're fighters. But like Daenerys is truly the only one who spoke about the dragons with any sort of reverence, and she was very hesitant to ever put them in any type of peril until she felt like she had no choice.
Jon Snow.
So I think that's also very interesting that like Daenerys is the one that really saw her bond with her dragons as truly familial instead of using them as tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's House of the Dragon season 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of ramp up. It's a lot of, set up for season 3. But I think in a great way. I know the showrunner Ryan Condal has said season 3 is going to be total war, and you get that vibe in the finale of those closing minutes of everyone basically mounting up.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be at this point. They went through that beginning stage of war and how it's going to go down. So,
like you see the Starks, like Starks are marching south, like they've crossed. The Starks have crossed the twins, so like they're right on the doorstep of entering this. Like everyone's right where they need to be. Like there's no more. It doesn't feel like there's any more politicking. Like everyone, Tywin Lannister and the Triarchy are literally sailing towards Corlys and the Valyrian fleet. Like that's literally about to happen. And then like the Starks are marching. Daemon's army is camped and ready to go. Like so, I just think season 3 is gonna probably be very sad.
Sure.
We're probably gonna. I think a lot of major players are probably gonna get checked off the board. Any predictions as far as like characters or?
I mean, I think the only obvious one is Aemond and Daemon. But I wonder how soon that's going to happen.
I could see that being a Rook's Rest-esque mid-season.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to happen.
Because it's too good to be true to do that in a finale. Because I also think that Rhaenyra is going to get on her dragon and she's going to do what she's always wanted to do. Like, she's going to finally, it's almost kind of like, the point I'll make before I get into that is, I hope all they need to do is just do in part 1 and do in part 2 this. It's going to solidify why this season still was good, in my opinion. This still is a good season. Much to a bunch of people's chagrin. Like, if you can make season 3, like, we are going to do this war. And, like, season 2, it's going to make this season so much better by the end. Like, as long as by the end of season 3 you can say that, this season will be much more, it's much more solidified and much more validated. But, prediction-wise, obviously we're going to get this fight between Aemon and Daemon. And again, it's going to be harrowing and sad because Caraxes and Vhagar are going to come to blows, even though, to an extent they do love each other. I don't think Jace makes it out of this either. And I think it's going to even drive Rhaenyra off the deep end. And I think this is the point. I think Rhaenyra is going to get driven off the deep end to a point where she's going to be the inverse of what her father was and, much more to Aegon than she ever thought she would be.
Yeah. Also, too, just talking about season 2, I think everyone was mad about Game of Thrones season, 7 and 8, because it was rushed. I think they did a nice job of not rushing it and actually showing each character and how things are going. So I feel like we shouldn't complain about that because we were already complaining like, hey, Game of Thrones, you rushed it, should have done an extra season. Well, hey, now they're doing that. And now season 3, we'll see that, that big war.
I mean, it's the point that we always talk about of like, it's called my series finale thing or my season or series finale thing where people don't like the thing because it's over. And like, people wanted certain things like if you go in no expectation, you'll be fine because you want the war, and it's fine to not have the war in this finale because the setup is so sweet. Like the setup, like they checked every box for the setup. Like everybody,
and
is
they gave us a big fight.
They did. We did get it. Yeah.
They gave us Rook's Rest, which is like
phenomenal,
incredible.
Jesus Christ,
like an incredible episode. Like so I think now if they're gonna give us what they're gonna give us, even more so. And I think prediction wise, I agree with Jace. I like I said, he's on his Robb Stark arc.
And it's also the stuff with Baela as well too. Like him and Baela's relationship with each other are also like, he's got his girl. He's finally becoming like, this heir is getting more apparent. He's truthfully becoming the heir apparent. Like I can get to the point of like, and again, like Rhaenyra's greatest fear comes true of like her son that she did get the chance to raise and did get the chance to see through. Like he doesn't make it out of this, but just like I said, I hope Rhaenyra just gets thrown off the deep end, like mentally. Like it's like almost like the physical deterioration of Viserys turns into the mental deterioration of Rhaenyra would be an interesting parallel.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, people are going to die, so.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean,
Kristen Cole. First episode.
Dead. He's going to die.
It would be such more sweet if he just lives his whole life and he has to see this war play out this whole time. That would be such That'd be such a better send off for him. It's like he has to watch this whole thing. Like, tried to tell y'all. I
think that's ultimately what Alicent's destiny is.
I don't think she's gonna die.
Is gonna witness everything. She's gonna, I think, like become the person that she says she wants to be. Like obscure, falling back, fading to history. Like, but at the same time, I think she's gonna be haunted by losing all of these people that she loved. Like, I think she's going to be like one of the last ones kind of standing, but she's not going to have any.
She's just going to be miserable and like grieving, you know?
Yeah, I don't think she's going to have any power or say. I think she's destined to lose her children. She's destined to lose her father. Like, she's going to lose Rhaenyra. Like, and I think she's just going to kind of be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun, guys.
This was. Should we give out our specific awards?
Yeah, we can loop you in on this.
Yes.
Oh,
this is our fun bit at the end where we give out Project Infinite specific awards. So we have 5. I should have cooked up a 6th one just for Game of Thrones / House of the Dragon. But we have the Hugh Jackman is he, him, she, her, or they, them award. Which
basically means like their presence their presence alone carries them through the show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll start. It's Rhaenys. I think it's easily Rhaenys. Like I said, she's the queen that stood on business. It's a much better title. That's what he should have named the ship, actually, Corliss.
Man, that's a good... Rhaenys is a good one. I'm gonna say Jace.
Jace, yep.
It's like, there was that one scene where he, like, Rhaenyra comes in, he's like, where have you been? And I'm like, whoa! Yep. Look at this kid. He's standing on business right now. He might be the future him.
Yep. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who you got?
I don't know. Can I say Daemon?
That's fine.
Daemon? Is that fine?
That's good.
Yeah.
Why?
Right. I mean, I just think he's just the star. I don't
he's
know.
Him.
Yeah, that actually might be the best point.
You know?
That's good.
He could hold his own show. 100%.
The power of Matt Smith got
Yeah.
Daemon through that Harrenhal sequence.
That's pretty good. The A24 Let the Creator Cook Award. So this is basically like, what point of the show where you were like, this show itself, like technically sound, like technically storytelling wise, like why was this bit beat so good, or this bit, or like this scene so good?
Go ahead.
No, I'm thinking.
Okay, I'll go. It's the Rook's Rest battle for me. Like, I was just mesmerized. Like, we had never, even in Thrones, we never got a dragon sequence like that before. Like, what is it? I think was it the Battle of Long Night? I think those 2 dragons end up fighting a bit. The Night King's resurrected dragon, and then I think it's Rhaegal and Viserion ended up fighting, but it's...
Like, brief.
Yeah, it's pretty brief. Whereas, like, this, you get Meleys and Sunfire, you get Vhagar and Meleys, and it's just like, this is like a fantasy novel, like, literally come to life.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of agree.
It's tough not to...
That was a good one.
It's tough not to agree with that one. I mean, that, like you said, outside thinking, like, again, or inside looking out, like, in terms, you know how, like, it's the real world thinking of things of, like, we know we're watching a television show, like, thinking about it like that, it's insane that they pulled that off. Like,
like, how'd they get those dragons up in the sky like that?
I mean, the CGI is great. The visual effects are incredible. Like, and again, the performance sells it too. And it's funny enough, it's not just the performance of the actors, it's the performance of the dragons as well are pretty good. So.
Yeah, I mean, the animation when, like, Vhagar, like, clasps Meleys, and Meleys kind of, like, looks back at Rhaenys, like, kind of like
yep, if we're gonna go out,
like, we tried.
Like, I'm sorry,
yeah, like, I gave it my all, and then Rhaenys just kind of like just takes it, like she's just right, like at that moment, like they both resign to it, you know, and it's just like you feel it, you really feel it.
You know what? I'm actually gonna pick a different one.
Nope,
it's the full commit to Harrenhal, into the spooky nature of Harrenhal that I'm in. I'm at the first I was like everybody else. I was like, why are we wasting our time with this after like 2-3 episodes? And then I got to the last episode. I was like, this is a comedy. This is a horror comedy, hilarious side quest that I just wasn't ready for, and I'm freaking in. I don't care. This is great.
I agree.
It's fun. You have a different one, or are you going to agree with episode 4?
I'm going to probably agree with episode 4.
Rook's Rest is good stuff. I remember that episode had the internet on fire. Literally, just like much like Aegon, the internet was on fire. So that was a low blow. My bad. This is a dual award for this one, so it's 2 in 1. It's the John David Washington Can They Act? You have to ask the question, can this person act? And then it's the Denzel Washington they can act award.
Yeah, so if you're asking if they can act, you're like, I'm not sure.
Yep.
Like, it feels like there's something there, but I'm not 100% sure. And then, like, the Denzel Washington award is like, oh no, like, this is undeniable.
Right.
My undeniable one, I'm just going to start there because it's easier. I'm going to say Emma Darcy.
Okay.
You stole mine.
So yeah, that's the Denzel Washington. They can act. There's no question they can act.
Yeah, just again, the facial, everyone on the show is great at facial acting. Like, Emma Darcy was just like taking it to the next level where, like, you feel the rage or whatever that character is feeling, like, to your point about like the blank stares, like every one of those blank stares like had an emotion
Had
behind
a
it.
1,000 words behind no
childbirth
dialogue.
scene.
Yep.
Childbirth scenes, and then like those I think they gave Rhaenyra more one-on-one interactions with different characters more than any other character. Like she had scenes with Daemon, she has scenes with Massaria, Rhaenys, like, and I think that's just Jace. Oh my god,
yeah.
That first scene when he comes back from the twins and he's like choking up, like trying to like they're both.
Oh yeah. That scene
when they're
with,
both grieving,
yeah,
but like he's trying to come back to her with like actual news,
Yeah.
and then they kind of just like
because I thought about it when I saw it, I was just like, this is interesting. I was like, wow, they haven't reconciled losing Luke. Like he lost a brother, she lost a son. Like they haven't been able to, again, that's the danger of war. Like so many things get lost in translation. I'm so glad they like. It's important to grieve. Like it is important. Like they finally got a second just to be like, I'm glad I have you in my arms because I can't have my other son, but we will remember them, and this is what we're doing this for. So
Yeah.
it's a good point. I'm gonna go my can they act. It's funny. I'm gonna go to Bela because I'm gonna go to Bela with the conceit that you don't get the her and Corlys scene later in the season. If I didn't know about that, I would have 100% said her. But my they can act. I'm going with Patty Constantine again. Literally came back and I was like, oh yeah, my man's back. And just in what? How much screen time did he have?
not much.
Couple minutes total.
3 episodes, yeah.
And he was just phenomenal. He's such a good mirror to them too. And it's like, again, like, and then you remember back, he's just like, man, times were better when he was there. Like he really did have
He had
everything
such a
unlocked.
presence, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I mean, I'm gonna go with Aegon's actor. I just think he's phenomenal.
Okay.
In it. I just think the episode after his son died was just his acting was phenomenal. It showed his anger, his grief, his, everything. I don't think anyone acts bad in that show. I'm trying to think of who, nobody. They're all so good.
I'm gonna take Rhaena.
Sure.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, but you don't see much of her. I feel like she has like 2 lines,
Sure.
So
And that's the thing.
it's like,
It's a question.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a question.
Yeah, it's the most ambiguous award
Okay.
ever.
Yeah.
I was between her and Massaria,
Sure.
Well, she's a good actress, I think.
but I don't know for
I
sure.
don't know for sure. That's the thing. Did John David Washington act?
All right.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe.
We don't know for sure.
It feels like it.
And then our last,
Sure.
but certainly one of our favorites, one of the new ones, the Glenn Powell Movie Star Award. Who just is like put that person on the front of the marketing week in, week out.
Can this just?
Oh, we already know.
3, 2, 1. Matt Smith.
Damien? Oh.
Yeah. It's just, there's
I
no.
fucked it up.
Like I said earlier, you put him on a B side quest this whole season out of nowhere, and I said, you throw a bunch of other actors there, I wouldn't have cared less. I was going back to see Matt Smith get haunted week after
for
week,
sure.
and I was freaking in.
And it's a testament to how good he is on the show that like every week you thought like this is the week.
Boy, he's coming
Yeah.
back.
He's getting out.
Yep.
Every week. I think I texted you every week. I'm like, is this the week he finally gets out of Harrenhal? And he was just there the whole season.
Caraxes was certainly asking that each week. He's like, is he getting out this week? And he's like, no, no, he's not.
Yeah, like if Damien ends up dying in season 3, I hope season 4 can, stand without him. I think it will, but he's just so impactful, I think,
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's just
Yep.
it was
That's
evident.
presence. It's
What was
presence.
evident from that from what was it, episode 4 last season? That the crab feeder episode where he doesn't say a word the whole episode. It's just his presence alone commands the entire episode.
Remember
Like,
last season when he was just reading that note? I was like,
and then he beat that guy
yeah, I
up.
was like, this is the coolest guy.
And then he
in
cut the crab
galaxy.
feeder in half.
Yeah, that was crazy. That episode is nuts. And that's the Thrones.
And what happened?
Yeah.
What
The
happened?
fucking stepstones are still a
Stepstones,
problem.
man.
He cut the crab feeder in half just for the
That
stepstones.
episode should just still be up in the air. God, the Stepstones.
Fucking stepstones. If I hear about the stepstones,
Stepstones
next
one more
season,
time?
I'm gonna lose it.
And that's House of the Dragon season 2. You know what was a good the Brackens in the Blackwoods, right?
Yeah. What about them?
Just the little beef they had, and it's those kids that pull
Oh
up.
my God.
You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of the Outsiders for whatever reason. They just pulled up and they were like, "I hate you because you're on that side of the fence."
But it's such a crazy sequence because like it's just this petty squabble,
Yep.
and then it smash cut to thousands of people
dead.
dying, and you're
Yeah.
like, what?
Wild.
They basically looked at each other and said, "You're kind of mid," and then you're like, "No, you're kind of mid." And then a thousand people died in the subsequent battle.
It's insane.
Shouldn't have been running your mouth. Johnny was running his mouth the whole time. We know about no spoilers. We know about this now. They released all the pictures.
Final thoughts?
No? I don't know.
It's perfect. I nailed it.
Yep.
That's how you know we had a good discussion.
Yep.
When you go final
We
thoughts.
covered everything.
No.
When you go final thoughts, and you're just like, nah.
Nope. We did it.
Man, that Aemon Daemon thing is gonna be. Whenever I hope they do what they did with like Rook's Rest, where it's like the two of them like gearing up, and you just know they're gonna have some type of conversation, and they're like you, and Aemon's gonna like be like, I always admired you.
You're me. I'm me. He says.
Like they're gonna have some confrontation where Aemon's like, I always admired you, Uncle, and Daemon's gonna be like,
We don't care.
who are you again?
Who are you?
Which one are you?
Yeah.
You know he's gonna say something snippy like
Which
that.
one are you?
Which
Yeah, I don't think he pays him any mind. If
which
he
one of
didn't
my
make-
brothers cunts are you?
Yep.
He's gonna say to him.
Yep.
And then that's gonna really rile Aemond up.
He said, buddy, you think you look strong? You have an eye patch. He said, no, I'm the upgrade.
I think his eye patch is cool.
I do
I think he looks
I do
badass.
appreciate that they just went full villain.
Oh, yeah. Here's
When they're just like, give him an eye
yeah,
patch.
give him an eye patch in Vhagar. He's not a
Yeah.
good guy.
And give him a weird featureless face.
Right, yep.
He's got that like weird
Give him the walk. Give him that.
he's
He's
got
that little sway walk
Yes,
to him.
yeah,
and
Yep.
he's got that smirk
Yep.
where he's like, oh.
Right. Bad guy Aemond.
Daemon is definitely gonna like I already know, like he's gonna say something to him that just triggers
Ticks him
Aemond.
off, yeah.
Yeah. Like he's like because Daemon's gonna know like the one thing that could piss Aemond off is like pretend he's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
He's be like, so you're the guy who rides Vhagar, eh?
Right. He said, I thought your brother was coming. He said, oh, this is gonna be easy. I thought your brother was coming to fight me. This is easy. He said, no worries.
You thought getting your eye cut out by a toddler was bad.
He wasn't a toddler, man. Come on.
How'd you get your eye cut out by the lesser Velaryon kid?
Right, exactly. Velaryon.
You know. I can't wait.
That is no true Velaryon.
He's actually still him.
Yeah, he is. We need to
that's
rename
what
the
I
war.
thought. I was going to say
Velaryon.
before about Harwin. I wish we saw that love story.
Yeah.
We
I
were talking
agree.
about that earlier.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
It would have been cool if Vaemond Velaryon was in one of Daemon's visions.
But he just doesn't need to be there would be much funnier. He's like, what are you doing here? He's just like...
Your children are bastards!
Like just at the end.
Damon's like, mine aren't. I don't understand. Mine are fine. I don't get it.
Look, man. Look, man, I'm just a vision.
I'm just, they gave me a script and I'm reading it, but I'm cooking with the script.
I heard everyone was doing guest
It's
appearances.
just,
So I'm back.
Justice for the Vaemond Velaryon character. I want more. Give me more of that guy. I don't care that he's dead.
No,
Give him
he's-
his own spin-off show.
Immortal.
Immortal.
This is an immortal... I could really...
This is one of our best bits.
I told you we're going to do a whole podcast episode just on that scene.
Yep.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was
Came in
insane.
there.
He was right, too. He was right. The point is, listen, he got the script the morning of, and, like, obviously he's a C character in the show, CD character in the show, and he goes, wait, am I going to get some main character energy? He's like, I'm not. He called his agent, and he goes, I'm not going to waste this one. I'm going to get some roles after this.
My favorite thing is just rewatching that scene and just seeing all the people in the background.
Helena still has the best reaction
Oh,
out of
man,
the
when
whole thing. She grabs her head. Eamon's just like, my uncle's kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. All right, uncle. I wasn't familiar with your game before this. That's my bad.
He can keep his tongue.
He can keep his tongue. No need. He's saying, disarm him. No need. No need. Read some socials, man.
Oh, yeah. Follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube. Now, still gotta remember to work that one in. Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Next week, I haven't thought that far. Maybe we're gonna start doing some.
Yeah, we'll do some reviews of some things.
The boys. We gotta talk about
the Acolyte.
the Acolyte. X-Men.
Yes.
We're gonna get you
Well,
on
maybe
for.
I'll
Yes,
guest
yes,
star
you
for
will-
another that.
Yeah.
You're officially our go-to guest person now.
Yeah.
I hope
I'll
you
do
know.
the X-Men one.
Nice. First episode.
Sure.
How you feeling?
Did you like it?
Not yet. Too soon.
Too soon.
Did you have fun?
soon?
I gotta watch the rest.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was all right. I
What-
expected it to be better.
She doesn't know we're talking about the podcast.
I know.
How'd you like being here? Guest
Oh,
appearance.
I thought you meant the
The
movie.
X-Men?
Yeah, what we were talking about before.
That's
And
me
you were
watching
judging me
Logan.
because I was like,
Just
oh, it was
kidding.
good.
X-Men Apocalypse. I can't wait for the takes that week. The takes are going to be great.
God, I liked that movie.
X-Men Apocalypse. Yeah, nobody else did.
And nobody else does. Yeah.
Not
I
even
don't
Oscar
know.
Isaac.
I
Oscar
enjoyed
Isaac's like,
it.
this thing sucks.
I mean, I watched it like 3 times.
That's
willingly.
more
I
than the
just threw it
creators
on.
of that movie watched that movie. They actually didn't even watch it that many times.
That's what I thought you were talking about. I'm like, oh, not again.
No, the podcast.
You had fun?
The podcast, yes, of course. Thank you guys.
Of course.
Thanks for hopping on. The resident Game of
course.
Thrones fan.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna rewatch Thrones. We already talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely should.
I'm ready.
Yeah, and then
Me
we do an episode about the Thrones.
I got so many thoughts on
That might have to be like a
Yeah.
3-parter. That might have to be broken
Yeah.
up into some
for sure.
weeks. So
I got so many.
you might have to do like 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and then 7, 8.
Yeah.
The Night King.
sure.
The Night King.
And then if they do a Robert's Rebellion, which I'm hoping.
This Jon Snow show is still a thing.
No, I think it was canceled.
What's Kit
I don't
Harington
even
up
think
to?
it
Why can't
started,
Kit
actually.
Harington just be in stuff? Why is he just? He's just not in anything anymore. He's just chilling. It's insane.
Maybe that's why they didn't show the Night King in Daemon's vision. Mm-hmm. I thought the Night King was weak. You don't have to worry about him. The Night King. All that hype for that guy. For nothing. That guy didn't do anything.
No, he didn't.
He didn't even get through the wall.
No, he didn't.
He needed a dragon to get through the wall. What was his plan if he didn't kill the dragon?
Yeah, I know. We talked about this.
How was he getting
What would
through the
he have
wall?
done? I think he would have climbed. He would have just climbed and then delayed the whole
Him climbing
thing.
up there, I don't know why, is visually hilarious to me because it's got to
rope?
be like a bit when he's climbing up. That'd be much funnier. Yeah, he has like a new school like rock climbing kit with him. How do you get that? Where do you get that
Where'd
from?
you get that from?
We gotta go, man.
Yeah, we gotta go. All right, man.
You have to do the bit twice now.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my bit where I sign off from me.
Yep. And then he bestows a character onto me, and then that's when I say you got to be real careful because if you give me Corliss, then. But I'll also accept
Well, what do I
Corliss.
gotta do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You have to
I'm just gonna observe this.
You get a character. You get a character. I haven't
Don't
done
put
this.
me
with-
on the spot. 'Cause
No. I do this. This is my bit.
Okay.
I will get.
I'm at the mercy of this bit. Just
I give you a character. I bestow upon you a character that you resonate with in my eyes.
Great.
Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's
bad.
sometimes it's bad. All right.
Okay.
Sometimes it's Morbius.
All right. So we're done. We're done for this week. So from me and from the
Careful, man. Don't give me Jace. I feel it. I felt it coming.
that's what it was gonna be.
I knew it. I just knew it. Am I
What?
that angsty?
No, but I wanted to do Adam Hole, but
Go ahead.
all right, I'm doing it.
Nice.
You didn't tell me to be careful. From the Adam of Hole of the pot.
I got it.
Oh, and from the Helena Targaryen of the podcast.
Nice. And that's it.
That's it. Oh,
Am I in the background? Sorry.
you're still in the back. Oh,
Wait, I don't know how to open the door. I was the wrong
this is great.
Yeah, we're leaving this in, actually. This is
This is
great.
the best ending ever, actually.
I can't open the door, Rob. Get over here. Get over here.
This is the best bit, actually. Hold on. Courtney, fill the
Get over
airtime.
here.
Courtney, fill the airtime.
Come on.
What should I talk about? I can finally talk about Daredevil because I don't have to be silenced about it.
I also can't open the door.
This is great.
Open it, so it's not me.
Keep filling the airtime.
Fill the airtime.
Rob also can't open it, so.
There we go. I'll turn it
This is incredible.
Yeah, it
Look at
wasn't
us.
just me.
This is wonderful.
Did you fill the airtime?
I tried to talk about Daredevil because you won't give me the time to ever. So I tried to take that point.
Season 1 of Daredevil. All right.
Incredible.
I made you Helena Targaryen.
Oh, thank you.
See? One for two.
Sweetie.
Yes.
Well, I don't get that treatment all the time.
1 for 2.
Oh, yeah.
1 for 2.
I'm guest starring today.
This is awesome. This is the
All right, 1
best
for
sign-
2. I'll take it.
Yeah, this is the best sign off we've ever had.
Then it's up there. The one from a couple weeks ago was good. The Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. I didn't
What's his deal?
Yeah, what is his deal?
We'll never know for sure.
We gotta go, man.
Yeah, that's it. We're done here. I did everything. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course.
It was a pleasure.
Yep. You have to have a unique sign off, so.
Yeah, he says peace. I say goodbye. You have to say something after. I guess after you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next. Me and Court will see you next week. We'll see you again sometime. Probably an X-Men related thing. We'll get you on.
X-Men. Sure.
All right, guys. We will see you next week. Goodbye.
Peace.
Ciao.